Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word Live and to our German Grand Prix build-up and race watch-along. How are we all doing in chat? I'm going to be with you for the next 3 hours. Massive apologies in advance for that one. I'm sure you're all really excited to listen to me for the next 3 hours ranting on like a terrible cheesy crofty. But we're going to have some fun today. Obviously, the race build-up, you know what that's all about. The race watch along. If you're tuning in expecting a race stream, I can't. I really can't. If there was any way I could without having the channel taken down in a second, I absolutely would. I promise you that, but I can't. So it is going to be an alternative race commentary with myself and John T, and of course as well live timing provided by Planet F1. Links to them are in the description down below. Go check them out as well. So yes, are we ready for this? I'm very much looking forward to it. It's an exciting race on the cards as well. So lot of action still to get over, but let's just hop, I suppose, straight into it and bring it in for the start, because if I've got to go through it for 3 hours, then I'm going to make him as well. Good afternoon, John T.
Good afternoon, everyone. Is it really going to be that long?
It's going to be something like that by the time we're done at 1:30 now. Yeah, it's quite a while, so we might need toilet breaks halfway through. Love sharing too much information with everybody. But are you looking forward to this one, John T?
Yeah, they're called yellow flags now, remember?
Yes, yellow flag breaks, as we're now calling it, as we found out yesterday in the qualifying stream, if you caught that. So are you looking forward to this race, John T? It's kind of set itself up quite nicely, and I know we might have some rain on the horizon as well.
Yeah, that's still completely up in the air, because I think I've been through 6 different weather forecasting sites now. 4 of them say rain, 2 of them say none. So anything could happen.
Consistent as ever with the weather forecast then. So yeah, I mean, we've got Lewis Hamilton well out of position, Ricciardo out of position. I suppose you could throw Ocon in there as well. We're going to have some action in this race, and I think we were saying yesterday during the qualifying stream that okay, if Vettel gets off the line well, you could probably say that provided no mistakes, no mechanical issues, with the pace Ferrari have got, could well disappear. But with rain a possibility, overtaking going to happen, so that could lead to safety cars if there's collisions. We just don't know, do we? This could be, I mean, it could be incredibly dull and just have somebody disappear with the win and the podium finishes as it starts, or it could be complete chaos.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. But what we've got to think, if we get some chaos at the start, you know, bit of a pile-up turn 1, or even just someone having a mechanical breakdown causing an extended safety car or even a red flag, that pushes us further and further into the rain window. Yeah,
I mean, don't talk red flags. This is our first proper race watch-along commentary, John. You don't have to try and find 2 hours worth of filler for everybody. That would be terrible.
Oh, no, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Or another Canada 2011.
Yeah, we'll talk about history. We'll have that covered. But we're going to come to you in chat for your predictions a little bit later on. Obviously, there's Sean versus Jonty, which is currently tied at 5-5. There was no Sean versus Jonty for Silverstone because obviously I wasn't here, so I couldn't do that. But qualifying yesterday, Valtteri Bottas, as I said in my qualifying report, I thought he'd nick pole with that final sector. I think Toto Wolff did as well based on his reaction. But that lap from Sebastian Vettel, particularly the first 2 sectors, was... maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit because it's fresh in the memory, but felt like on board one of the best laps he's put together.
Yeah, he was really hooked up and giving it everything. You could tell the home crowd advantage was pushing him along a bit there. Nothing was going to stand in his way of getting pole position yesterday.
No, but it's great to see the crowd. I mean, the grandstands look fairly well filled today after a bit of criticism on Friday, so hopefully they're going to get behind him. It'd be nice to see, you know, it does look like Ferrari have got the car to beat, so it'd be nice to see them go on and capitalise on that. But there's a couple of, looking at that and looking at the grid, Bottas has been very unlucky this year. You could argue Raikkonen as well. It'd be nice to see one of them nick the winners, just for, if nothing else, for their confidence.
Yeah, it really would. I'd love to see any of the midfield just getting a bit further up, or maybe Raikkonen. We all want Raikkonen to do well. We were cheering him on yesterday during qualifying, thinking that he would have an outside chance of taking the pole. And his pace is superb. It came out, was it yesterday or Friday, the fact that Kimi is still running without the ice upgrades that Vettel had back in Canada. Yeah. And he's still competing that close. What would he be doing if he had the full same package?
You could, well, yesterday you would have probably could argue full Ferrari front row lockout, couldn't you? I mean, he was only 0.3 off Vettel, only a 10th further back on Bottas. So, I mean, yeah, he should be right in there, and he needs it. He does. He's a guy under pressure, right? Which is a bit weird because I think, okay, he's tailed off a little bit in the last few races, but obviously that could come down to the upgrade. But this has been his best start to a year in terms of performance, not necessarily points, but in terms of performance for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd just be nice to see him kind of get that confidence boost when it maybe nick a win, but I think it all depends on what Hamilton does. Let's say Raikkonen gets a belting start down into turn one. He takes the lead, Vettel second. If Hamilton only recovers to fourth or fifth, I think Ferrari will let Raikkonen take that win without any interference. But if Hamilton's suddenly on the back of Vettel, I fully expect team orders could well come into play.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We know that's going to happen. That's been happening since Australia, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But then another point I'd like to mention about coming from yesterday, Max's interview, apparently he was flat through turn one and would have been flat through turn 12 into the stadium had there not been a slightly slower Haas in front of him. That speaks volumes about what they're going to be pulling today.
I don't know how much of a surprise this will be to you, Jonty, but I know how much you love stuff like this. But in fact, I've heard a stat on TV and I've dug it out as well. Apparently, his minimum apex speed at turn one was 175 miles an hour.
Yeah, the downforce and mechanical grip that Red Bull are getting out of that chassis is just insane.
So do we expect them to be a lot closer on race pace and be able to take the fight to the front three then? Particularly, obviously, with Verstappen, not so much Ricciardo at the moment, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously the guys are in front of them, so once they've got the DRS benefit and the people in front haven't, I can see it being very tight.
I'm really looking forward to this race. I know I've said it a couple of times. It feels different. And I was just looking at the world feed there on Sky Sports. There are some very black clouds starting to roll in. We reckon about 50 minutes into the race for rain, don't we, Jonty? According to the forecast, could come sooner, could come later. I'm always going to say we'll err on the side of caution because we've said a few times this year that we're going to get rain and it never really turned up. So hopefully looking at that, we're going to get some rain well after the ultra soft pit window, but before the medium pit window.
Yeah, well, anyone that's... I think I mentioned this on Twitter. Anyone who's... or to you in a message. Anyone who's clever in the midfield, with that rain looking increasingly likely later into the race, they should be starting on new mediums and just go as far as possible. So they're only getting hurt with the one stop changing to wet weather.
Is that something worth it for Ricciardo, or do you think he's going to have enough speed to be able to counter that and start on a quicker tyre and make his way through the field?
Possibly, but you've also got to think the Red Bulls easily got enough pace to deal with the midfield on the slower tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
I have got some other news that I've been picking up on Twitter. Apparently, there's no time for this, but at some point this morning, while practicing pit stops, a Mercedes mechanic has broken Lewis Hamilton's floor.
Really?
I'm not joking. There's photos of it. It's not much, but it's still enough. Any kind of damage to the floor can cause massive issues. And just in front of the left rear, the floor is bent up at the corner. I have retweeted it. It's how much more drama can there be? I mean, you've got drama 2 hours before the race.
There's not a lot they can do about that now, is there? A floor change is pretty quick, but wouldn't that be a breach of part firme? That'd be pit lane start, wouldn't it?
They've already tweeted saying they are allowed to change it.
Okay.
Because it's damaged. And it doesn't breach the Parc Fermé rules because they've been given consent by the FIA. It's just a case of whether they can.
It's a fair old job, isn't it, to replace an F1 floor? But I think we've seen it done quite quickly in the past, and I think Mercedes they're going to have to try because he can't from 14th on the grid go into the race with a disadvantage. I mean, he's got a car that, okay, is a damn sight quicker than anything in the midfield and should make its way through the field quite quickly, but he doesn't need anything to hamper him any further. I mean, he's had a miserable weekend. He really has. It's just, it feels like one of those weekends where it's just not going to happen for him, and I think we're going to get quite a miserable Lewis Hamilton at the end of this Grand Prix. Understandably, though, to be fair to him.
Yeah. On this occasion, wouldn't really blame him for being quite miserable.
just not gone his way, has it? But then at the same time, it's not really gone Ricciardo's way. But he's quite, as ever, cheery and smiley. But I don't know. You could probably punch him in the face, and he'd be quite happy, Daniel Ricciardo, to just stand smiling away. So, other news this morning: Pierre Gasly has taken a power unit change, a full power unit change. So he starts 20th, which promotes Daniel Ricciardo up to 19th. I think Stroll, Van Dorn, Hartley, and Gasly and Ocon all move up places as well. So, not a big change for Daniel Ricciardo, but it's one less to worry about, isn't it?
Well, any less cars in front of you is always a bonus when you're coming through from the back. I don't think it would make that much difference, especially being a Toro Rosso. You have to believe it would have jumped straight out of the way.
I was just going to say, after I said that, I realised I was talking about a Toro Rosso, so it shouldn't be too much of a fight either way. But a couple in chat saying tactical change. It made sense for Gasly, didn't it? He wasn't exact. If he'd have been further up the grid, they probably left it in, but you may as well. And I think the Hungaroring is probably one they're looking at a little bit as well. So if they've seen something in data that's troubled them a little bit, it makes sense to take the penalty here rather than in Hungary.
Well, that's a difficult one because Toro Rosso aren't really renowned for being super quick around Hungary. So I'm not sure it would make that much difference. If I was them, I'd probably be taking the pain on both races just to maximise any information they can gain from the engine looking towards next year.
I have to say, actually, I don't know if we covered this on Wednesday in the live stream. We might have done, but obviously there was talk of Red Bull going to sacrifice Toro Rosso this year to put upgrades on that Honda engine, and then Red Bull said they weren't going to. But are we fully expecting that probably after the summer break, what we kind of were talking about in pre-season, that Toro Rosso will become the test team now for Red Bull and Honda next year? If they're not already, of course.
Oh, yeah, they should be already. It would be crazy for them as a whole unit, the two teams together, not to do that.
I agree. I think there's so many question marks, isn't there, over whether or not the Honda move was the right one to make. Red Bull are saying that actually they'd be no worse off than they are now, so it's the right move to make. So it'd be silly in a lot of ways not to, I hate saying sacrifice, but that's kind of what it is, sacrifice Toro Rosso's season in a bid to improve their chances next year of getting a decent engine for Australia, because this kind of feels a little bit like last chance saloon for Honda, as ridiculous as it sounds, because there's only 2 years till the rules reset, and if they can't get it right now, are they really going to want to stick around and pour even more money into Formula One if they can't get it right?
Well, they're kind of committed now. They've spent so much on it, they can't just walk away with nothing. They've kind of got to see it through at the very least until 2021.
Yeah, I'd like to see him stick around after that, to be honest, because I think the more manufacturers on the grid, the better for us as fans, because there's more competition and there's more development race. That'd be great. But it's going to be interesting to see when it comes down to Honda. We'll not get too much into 2021, though. Just having a quick look through the grid. Big shout out yesterday, John T. We didn't get a chance to do a proper chat about qualifying after the qualifying watch on because I needed to get off and do the report. But was there anybody that really stood out for you? For me, the Haas boys were stunning yesterday. I know they've got that Ferrari engine, but really impressed with them.
Yeah, they both did well, but that car has been settling itself into that position the last couple of races now. It's really looking like it's staking a real strong claim to fourth in the Constructors. Personally, I'd say one of the standout performances would be Sirotkin.
Yeah, he deserves a lot for that, because I know I said again, if you caught the qualifying report yesterday, I did mention that, okay, he has benefited from Hamilton's problems and Ricciardo not setting a lap. But you look at the gap to his teammate, a teammate that, with all fairness to Stroll, has been quicker than him for most of this season. He's had his off days, of course, but to go that much quicker, make it through to Q2, and to be within 7/10, given where Williams have been all season, of making Q3, I think he's kind of, despite the fact he's there in 12th place, he seems to have been a bit forgotten after the session because of everything that happened.
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame. It was a stunning performance considering how rough that car is. I mean, they have been saying from the Williams camp they've made significant gains with the whole new design philosophy they brought for the front wing here. And it does seem to be working. They're certainly a lot quicker than they were. They're still slow, but it is an improvement.
If we get a little bit of drama ahead of him as well, he's put himself in a great position to maybe nick a point, and then we'd have all drivers having scored a point this year, and that'd be brilliant. I would say Charles Leclerc as well, by the way, for a shout out, but maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on him. It's not really a huge surprise that he's there, to be honest, given how he's been so far this season. But I think Sergio Perez he's another one to be content with 10th. Ocon will obviously be very frustrated with where he starts, but I think he lost a lot of time, didn't he, in FP1? Oh, he lost all of FP1, didn't he, to Nicholas Latifi? So I think he made reference to that afterwards, and that's cost him in qualifying. And obviously with no running in really in FP3, Ocon only had one session to set everything up for qualifying. So, he's a long way off his teammate, but we can't really throw all the blame at him for that one.
No, FP1 and FP2 are very important, it's a little bit harsh on the existing drivers when test drivers, reserve drivers take those sessions from them. It's great to see newer people in the cars. I think perhaps it might be better for them to do FP3, which really doesn't hold as much importance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Just looking for another standout performance. Marcus Ericsson, I think if you ignore Leclerc, he'd probably be quite content with that one. Even with Hamilton Ricciardo's issues, he would have made it through to Q2, so he's probably been quite happy with that. I think the Toro Rossos will be disappointed with where they are. And Stoffel Van Dorn, quick word on him as well. Last, it didn't look great after qualifying yesterday, but he's got some fundamental problems with his car on his side of the garage, and Fernando Alonso's kind of come out and defended him, Jonty, on that one and said, look, we're trying to investigate what the problem is. And he even said that he's closer to Alonso's performance than Kimi Raikkonen was when they were teammates. So quite an interesting few lines from Alonso over the last sort of 24 hours.
He's suddenly seeming more positive again about the team as a whole, which is just completely the opposite of what he was a few weeks ago. He's been up and down all season.
It's quite weird. I've been saying for a while that I would be stunned if he stays on. All of a sudden, I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to be proven wrong for the third season in a row. Obviously, the F1 word wasn't around for those other 2 seasons, but I've been saying for about 3 years now that Alonso will retire. One day I'll be right, because he has to retire at some point, but it looks like he might just be sticking around for one more year and give McLaren that final chance.
Well, we can hope so, because they do seem to be similar to Williams, making little improvements here and there this last couple of races. We can really hope. I mean, it's not the big steps they need, but come on, get it right. Get it right for next year. Even if they're nowhere near the front guys, as long as they're tight with the midfield.
I'd agree with that. We're about 20 minutes away from the race now, 23 minutes. So we'll be going to Jonty's one to watch in a minute. I'll let you explain that one a little bit later, Jonty. But I like Alonso to stay, but I kind of take note of what you were saying the other day and tend to agree with you. It would be nice if some of these older drivers stepped aside to allow us to get some of this fantastic young talent, because it just seems now that we've got so much young talent in F2 and so many reserve drivers that are very good. Some of them, though, are starting to slide towards that, how can I word this, kind of fall out of favour as more young talent comes through, fall into that no man's land where maybe they're going to miss their chance of an F1 drive because you've got other drivers like Norris and Russell and De Vries and drivers like that coming through.
Yeah, I mean, I did, again, put it on Twitter during the week. I was a little bit disappointed to see that Lewis re-signed, because I would like a lot of these guys, at the long-running guys, to just drop off a little bit now. They've had their time, and particularly with Lewis, how he seems so miserable all year. It's like, if you're not enjoying it, why stay? Just go, let someone else have the seat. We want to see the fresh people before the rule changes come in, so we can gauge the difference between then and now as well.
It's a big couple of years for a lot of teams. By the way, the one to watch graphic on screen now, I know that Ricciardo starts 19th. I forgot to update that one, so my bad on that. But yeah, it's a big 2 years for Formula One in terms of team development, driver development. It's all coming to a head now. We've not got an announcement on the rules, though, yet, which is quite surprising, given that we're now heading towards a summer break and still nobody knows really what's going to happen in 2021. But all this at Ferrari, of course, we need to mention this, a change at the top. That could delay things even further if the new bosses don't like what Marchioni's negotiated.
Yeah, that could be very difficult for them. Obviously, we hope that it's not a serious illness that he's left for, but it's very difficult for the team to have that in the middle of the season. It's different to the McLaren situation, because someone like Marchioni is so much more important than Boulier was. I know that sounds crazy, but Ferrari is very intrinsic.
Yeah.
So this could cause them big problems moving forward.
As I keep saying, I've been saying most of the year, just watch this space. I think it's going to get very tasty over the next few weeks. Obviously, something's got to be done soon because they've got to start development on 2021, so it's going to be interesting. But Jonty, we'll go on to your one to watch. You messaged me this one later. You've gone for Carlos Sainz, and I'll let you explain why.
Well, yeah, all the crazy talk of silly season we've had ever since Lewis's contract was signed. He's another one who could be left without a seat. His Red Bull contract is up. It's not an official seat at Renault. He's in a real difficult position where he's got to prove his worth. And I think certainly in the next 4 or 5 races, he will be driving out of his skin to make sure that all the teams notice him. Because that's his biggest risk, just slipping under the radar with so many other big names available.
That's a great point. And obviously, the talk is, I don't know, obviously the Sky were talking, the Sky were talking about it yesterday, but there's also been a lot more paper talk today that actually the move to McLaren might be on for Sainz and that Ocon is pretty much done to Renault.
Yeah, and they're also saying that Sainz is trying to land a 2-year deal wherever he goes, which could be causing complications. Because with us being so close to the rule reset, people want to keep their options open. So it's kind of awkward.
It's quite odd as well when you consider that you've got Bottas potentially out of contract at the end of next year. You think drivers like Sainz, who might be on the radar of Mercedes if they can put in a few good seasons just to fill the seat for a year or two and see how they get on if Bottas decides to do something else. I don't think he will. I think Bottas will be kept on, but do you think that some of those midfield drivers would want to go 1-year deals just on the off chance that they have a really good 2019 and Mercedes go, oh, he might be all right for a couple of years?
Yeah, it certainly could be. I mean, if the top teams lose a top driver, say Kimi does go from Ferrari, all the talk of Leclerc, yes, it's quite obvious because he's part of the Ferrari development program and he's got that tie-in with Sauber, but it's a convenient second driver role to play with Vettel just for those 2 years. But now Mercedes have kind of shot themselves in the foot there because they're tied in to what they've got. They can't have someone who will take less money, do as they're told, because they're signed up with both Hamilton and Bottas for at least 1 year. He has got the option for the second. I'd be looking for someone that's nice and young and cheap just while they prepare for these roles.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that's a very good point, Jonty, and it's, like I keep saying, it's going to be interesting to watch this drive. This year, I thought it was going to be quite static with the top 3 teams kind of more or less sticking. Obviously, question marks over Raikkonen. It sounds like he might be staying now. That midfield sounds like it's going to explode a little bit in terms of driver moves, which is great because it'd be nice to see a good mix-up. It does feel like it's been static for a few years now, so there's a few drivers I'd like to see move around. Very quickly, Jonty, before I get to Sean versus Jonty, do you think Sainz to McLaren is a good move for Sainz?
No, I don't think it's a good choice for Sainz. It's a good choice for McLaren because I think he's significantly better than Van Dorn. But for him, no, not as it stands.
Be interesting to see as well an all Spanish lineup potentially at McLaren. I mean, they've not had an all same nationality lineup since obviously Hamilton and Button. So, and I think there are a lot of question marks over that because of marketing and whatnot. But I don't know, maybe whatever nationality Alonso was, it'd be hugely marketable. It made no difference at all, would it? So I suppose that's the business side of things. Should we go for Sean versus Jonty then, mate? Because we've been pretty poor since the start of the season. How many have we done? 6 of these, and it's still 5-all. We were both completely wrong on pole position yesterday. You've gone, though, for Verstappen for the win, and I've gone for Vettel. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, hydraulics. That's exactly what we wanted. But at least I've still got a chance of fastest lap, I suppose.
Yeah, I've gone Vettel fastest lap for me. Close on retirements, I've gone 5 and 6. Hamilton and Bottas on the podium. That might be a bit ambitious now from me. Vettel and Hamilton for you. So, yeah, thanks, hydraulics. Yeah, you've ruined Sean versus Jonty. How very selfish of you. But yeah, it's going to be a tasty one. Hopefully, I'll score some extra points this week. I'm going to determine to beat you at some point because at the minute I just cannot shake you, Jonty.
No, you just keep pulling level. I think that's twice I've gone one in front now and you pulled it level.
Whenever you go slightly in front, I just make the most obvious prediction I possibly can so that I can tie it up because I'm determined not to lose. Although I have a funny feeling, given how everybody watching knows my predictions tend to go, I'm probably going to lose quite miserably come the end of the season. One prediction to make before we go any further. You saw ours there. Everybody in chat, who is going to win the German Grand Prix? We're 15 minutes away from lights out. Prepare yourself for some very cheesy commentary coming up. I've not done commentary since I used to play the F1 game. I think it was F1 2000 or something. And my parents used to call me Murray Squawker, Jonty. There you go. A little bit of Sean history for you, though.
I like that one. And someone just pointed out, which I've looked at the TV, have you seen the trophies? I think they're brilliant.
I've just missed those. I have Sky
If
there,
I
so
was
I can
to-
rewind.
Yeah, if I was to guess, I would say they've been designed by school children, something like that. So yeah, good move.
Oh wow! Sorry, they are. Yeah, I like that. That's better than that. Was it a chimp or an ape or something that they had in France?
Oh no, I liked Kong, but I like the silly ones. The best one ever was Sonic at Donington. Sorry, it was.
The best
Loads
bit
of
about
people
that.
hate it.
The best bit about that trophy in France was Kimi Raikkonen's face on the podium when he got handed it. His face was just absolutely priceless. It was even brilliant for Kimi Raikkonen, so I completely loved that. I really, really did. I thought that was a great reaction. But we are cruising towards the race now, John C. And I've just missed everyone's predictions in chat because that's how good I am today. So a lot going on this end. A lot of people saying Sebastian Vettel. David says Leclerc. Racing reckons Bottas is going to do it. Money on Vettel. Max says Jacob. He agrees with you. Jonty, Vettel, Kimi, Max as the podium. Says Hallam 899 live. Umbrex says Vettel. Bottas. Max or Bottas. John says Bottas is weak. Weirdly, there's quite a few that would agree with that, but I think he's come on leaps and bounds this year. So, but he just needs a bit of luck, that guy. My prediction first lap is Carnage, says Flying Tiger. You've been predicting Carnage, I'm pretty sure, for quite a few races now, and actually you've been spot on with some of them. So we might need to listen to you. Ancient Jonty. What's this Ancient Jonty thing all about, by the way? I keep seeing in chat. Apparently, you are going to win this race, mate.
I don't know why I'm ancient. It's very, very strange.
Only a few years older than me. That would, yeah, thanks. It's vlogging at Charlie. There you go. That'll be why. Always calling you Ancient Jonty. Bottas, Vettel, Hamilton. Do we think Hamilton? What's Hamilton and Ricciardo quickly, Jonty? Where do you see them recovering to? Not quite as easy here to overtake as it is at Silverstone.
No, it's not quite as easy, but no, I don't see there being much challenge to the overtaking, to be quite honest. They could really pull a surprise.
Yeah, I think top 6 is very possible for Ricciardo. Them Haas boys that might cause him some problems with the power difference. If both him and Hamilton keep it clean. 5th for Hamilton. It's all going to come down to how that start. It's all going to come down to the start. If Vettel gets the lead and Raikkonen gets a jump on Bottas, that could pretty much be it for the podium. Verstappen, if his race pace is there, might be able to challenge, but if he starts pulling away, maybe 5th, he might get 4th, but I don't think he'll recover to the podium like he did Silverstone, unless, of course, Raikkonen, Bottas, or Bottas, Vettel, or whatever come together, which, as we've seen twice this year, it's not beyond the realm of possibility for a Mercedes and a Ferrari to have a first lap incident.
No, yes, they are quite capable of doing that, as we've seen 2 this year. And then, of course, you got the chance of Ferrari Red Bull incidents, which we saw very spectacularly last year.
Yeah, I'd agree. A couple of people disappearing now to go and watch the race. Thank you for coming for the pre-race. That's absolutely, I totally understand if people were going to go and watch the race. It's not easy to do 2 things at once. I'm running a stream. I've got headphones in for the race and I'm talking to Jonty, so I totally understand what you're saying. And somebody else is going to mute the stream. I've just missed your name, sorry. So he's going to mute the stream because he wants to listen to the F1 intro. I think that's a very good point. I wish I could play that. I really do. I might have to come up with my own cheesy one for next week in Hungary, Jonty.
We'll just sing it.
I ain't singing. I wouldn't put anybody through that. So the watch along's going to start in just a moment. We've got live timing from Planet F1 once again. Check them out. Links in the description. I use them a lot for my news reports because I find that their news is just to the point. It's concise. There's no jargon on there. So I really enjoy using them as a source. So links in the description to them. They're providing that live timing. We're going to do an alternative commentary. If you are tuning in for race footage, I'm sorry, I can't. If I could, I would, but there's absolutely no way I can under copyright law and whatnot. And FOM would probably come knocking on my door and take everything away from me because I like that, but that's a slight exaggeration. So I can't show the race footage. So alternative commentary. And of course, the race debrief is up at 5 p.m. tonight. I don't know, do we tease a little more about who our guest is tonight, or do we give them a little exclusive now? What do you reckon?
No, leave them hanging because this is a big surprise.
The big surprise, and I'm quite excited about it. So yeah, we're going to have a guest with us tonight. It's not like Vettel or anything, by the way. Don't start expecting an F1 driver to pop up. But yeah, very much looking forward to the race debrief. About 5 o'clock. Obviously, if we get rain, and we know F1 drivers don't like the rain these days and decide to stop the race, and we might be overrunning with everything. So I'm hoping not. I'm really hoping not. But it's going to be awesome. So final predictions, John T. What are you? Obviously, you've gone with Verstappen, but not him. Who's probably favourite going into this race now?
Vettel's probably the favourite, but it's all going to come down to what happens with the weather. I think that'll be the big key.
Yeah. I think if the rain comes, Verstappen's in there. I really do think he is, and you could probably maybe, if it's down to sort of like you said with the midfield, some starting on the medium tyres, it could make a big difference. I don't know if anybody is. We need to keep an eye on that on the grid, but that could make a big difference to race strategy. But I think Vettel is probably the favourite, but I'm not going to rule out Bottas either because he's got a lot to do, hasn't he, today? He really does. And those clouds, sorry to look at the world feed, they are rolling in already. So we might get a nice little sprinkling towards the very start of the race, Jonty. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just a quick shower on the warm-up lap. Not torrential, just enough to make it wet. Surface wet. And then nothing for another half an hour.
Yeah, quite like, just rain, dry, and then maybe a sprinkling on the last lap. I'm probably asking too much, but that would be awesome. Trying to think of an example of that? I think actually Hockenheim 2000 was something similar, wasn't it? Where you sort of had half the track was dry and half it was wet. The one that Rubens Barrichello won, of course. That was a brilliant race. And obviously Nürburgring 99 is a great example of that as well. So German races do like to throw up some unpredictable weather, so hopefully we're going to get that. But like I say, we'll err on the side of caution a little bit, Jonty, given how wrong we've been so far this season with the weather predictions.
Yeah, it's going to be glorious blazing sunshine for the whole race, and there won't be a cloud in the sky.
Yep, and it's going to be really boring. By the way, if you're joining us for the first time, we say that because every time we say it's a great race, it's pretty rubbish. So we just say it's going to be boring now, and it's worked the last couple of weeks, rather concerningly. So, yeah, terrible race. I'm not looking forward to this at all. I'm lying. I'm just looking at Sirotkin's car. There's some work going on there. Looks like they've done some work just screwing everything back down again. So, maybe something to keep an eye on. I don't know if you've seen any news yet, Jonty, on Lewis Hamilton's floor, whether they have decided to repair that or not. I've not seen anything.
I've not seen anything else about it. Just that one tweet with the photos on it. That's it.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll keep an eye. I'm sure somebody will mention it. I'm sure Crofty will mention it at some point. He might mention Hamilton. You never know. He might not. We'll see. A few disappearing again. Thank you very much again, Robbie, for joining us. Absolutely really appreciate that, mate. Loads of you watching as well. So brace yourself for some pretty terrible, cheesy commentary that I'm quite looking forward to doing. We haven't done a proper public watch along since Australia, I think it is now, and it got a mixed reaction then, but we're going to kind of approach this a little bit more different, or a bit differently. That's a bit more English there, that'll do, and have a bit more fun with it. So it's going to be cheesy, relaxed, and just going to enjoy watching the race with you all again. No actual race footage, unfortunately, but I will be bringing you live timing, courtesy of Planet F1, which has just updated, which seems like just about the right time to head to the watch-along screen. I did warn you that'd be cheesy. A little countdown and a get ready as well. There you go. So this is your watch on screen. Everything is on here from Planet F1. So do go check them out. Also follow them on Twitter. They will bring you the most up-to-date F1 news. So keep an eye on your live timing. This will update throughout the session. Obviously, it'll be slightly delayed because it'll work through what happens through F1. They can only update when they update, and then I can only tell you what's going on based on that. I am watching the Sky Live feed, but Jonty's watching on Sky Go. So just bear in mind that he might be a little bit behind. I think you're about another half a minute, aren't you, Jonty?
Yeah, for some reason, the Sky Go system's quite laggy compared to other systems. I don't know why.
I was going to compare it to, I was going to do a Jeremy Clarkson moment and say the unique way that Sky Go works. They're a little bit further behind. So what's going to happen? I'll commentate over the first lap. We'll go over strategy in that during the race with Jonty. He'll bring us his views on stuff as he sees them. Next week it's on Channel 4 though, so it's going to be a lot better next week. So if you are disappearing to go and watch the Grand Prix, completely understand. If you can watch it, that's awesome. But if you want to stick with us, that's brilliant as well for some alternative commentary. But it is Grand Prix time. Oh, my word. I'm going to have to go back to the screen because I've put it on the wrong one. But let's have a look at our grid for today's German Grand Prix. This is where it all gets a little bit cheesy. Sebastian Vettel on pole position from Valtteri Bottas. Lockout on that front row there for them two. Kimi Räikkönen in third place with Max Verstappen in fourth. It is all Haas on the third row, Magnussen in fifth and Grosjean in sixth. It is all Renault as well behind them, seventh and eighth, Hülkenberg and Sainz. We've got Charles Leclerc in ninth with Sergio Perez in 10th. Fernando Alonso starts the midfield pole, I guess you could say, with Sergei Sirotkin in 12th. Marcus Ericsson 13th for Sauber with Lewis Hamilton just behind him in 14th. Ocon bumped up to 15th and Hartley to 16th following penalties for Gasly. Stroll starts 17th with Stoffel Van Dorn in 18th. I struggle with that name every time. And Daniel Ricciardo promoted one position, starts 19th with Pierre Gasly in 20th. I told you it's going to get cheesy. There you go. A static background will probably work better. It would, but it's a bit less cheesy and a bit less fun. So definitely looking forward to this one. Obviously, formation lap coming up. They're currently running through it all on Sky now and on the world feed with all the stats and that. Have you got a favourite German Grand Prix of all time, Jonty? I know it's a bit putting you on the spot there, but I really enjoyed 2000.
Just for the crazy drama, I'd say 2007 is a contender. Yes, it was at the Nürburgring, but it was still dramatic.
Really good race, really good race. In terms of your tyres for today, by the way, you've got the medium, the soft, and the ultra soft. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, they've saved lots of sets. In terms of your pole sitter, Sebastian Vettel's got one new set of the ultras. I think most people have got a new set of the ultras, except for obviously your midfield boys and whatnot that tried to get through to Q3. Max Verstappen has no fresh sets of the ultra softs, but he has got a fresh set of softs and a fresh set of mediums. So what he could do with them, I'm not quite sure, Jonty, but he's one to keep an eye on. Charles Leclerc, another one to keep a watch of as well. He's got a new set of mediums available and a new set of softs, but no new ultras. So yeah, lots of information I'm throwing at you there, but just trying to make sure we've got it all covered before we get into this Grand Prix. Running through the grid on TV now. Quite looking forward to this one, Jonty. It's going to be interesting to see how bad I am at it, to be honest.
I'm just hoping for that weather. But we've got the grid all lined up for some proper scrapping, people out of position. That's exactly what we want. Even if it's not really fair on the guys out of position, it gives entertainment for everyone watching. Can't ask for more than that.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. We just need, Silverstone was a really good race. Austria was a dramatic race. France was pretty decent as well in that sort of behind the leader. Obviously, Hamilton pretty much dominated there, but really brilliant few races after, let's be honest, three pretty dull, you could argue boring if you throw Canada in there, Grand Prix. So definitely, we've had some good back-to-back races, and hopefully now, two more back-to-back, aren't we? Hungary next weekend, we're going to get a couple of belters. Hungary, actually, I have to say, for the criticism it gets, actually, the last few years, it's been pretty decent. They've thrown up some surprises, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite strange. I've always disliked Hungary, I must be honest. It's not really a track that allows for proper racing, and that somehow they managed to pull it off. It's weird.
It is very odd. They're just showing replays now on the live feed of what happened with Lewis Hamilton. You're quite surprised, aren't you, Jonty, that there was no at least reprimand handed out to him for trying to push that car back from that position?
Yeah, I'm very surprised. They're really on the ball with rules and regulations that to maximise driver and marshal safety. And if your car is stopping, you pull it off, if at all possible. He knew his car was stopping and just decided to get out and push it along the track. That's a massive no-no. That's 10 times more dangerous than the weaving we saw during qualifying in Canada on the back straight. That he should have been in serious trouble.
Yeah, just had somebody in the chat asking why they can't pause the stream. I thought I sorted that last week. I do apologise if it's still not doing it. I will try and get that sorted. I know it doesn't help you now, but try and get that sorted for next time out. I can't do anything now without stopping the stream, but I thought I'd change that in the settings. So massive apologies for that one. I'll try and make sure it's sorted in future. The cars are pulling away on their formation lap. We are just a couple of minutes away now from lights out. I don't know how I'm going to start my commentary. I don't want to do a crofty lights out and away we go. That's boring and quite irritating. Everyone says that now. I miss the old Murray Walker days of commentary. Pretty packed grandstands. It's good to see as well. There was some criticism on Friday, wasn't there, Jonty, that actually there wasn't much of an attendance, but we appear to be, or the critics appear to be proven wrong a little bit today.
Oh yeah, the place is heaving. And all the extra bits of cardboard material they've got to get the German flag going all the way around the grandstand, really making a big effort. So, yeah, it's silenced a lot of people.
It's good to see as well. I mean, the German Grand Prix, big question marks over whether it's even going to stay. I think I want it to stay. I really want it to stay because it's a big historic one, isn't it? And it's one that we want to keep on that calendar. You know, we want as many of these classic races as we can, and hopefully they can get this new deal done. And I really hope it stays around. But if they can't get Hockenheim, maybe go for the Nürburgring. But I've heard as well that's probably not possible either.
No, which I don't understand. The Nürburgring plays host to a lot of the big series. It's certainly capable of doing Formula One again. So it must come down to money.
I was going to say, it has to be a money issue, doesn't it? Because there's no way, really, because they're not funded by the government. A bit like Silverstone, there is no outside funding. It is all privately gained, if you like. It's all paid for by their revenue. And of course, Formula One take quite a whack of that. So I hope they can sort something. Just look at the weather radar there. The weather is hanging around. It's certainly a possibility we're going to get some rain today, Jonty. So, but yeah, I hope they can sort the future of the German Grand Prix out, especially if they can pull crowds like that on a Sunday. Just need to make sure they can get that across the weekend.
Didn't actually catch that, but I'm assuming the race is about to start at your end.
Yeah, we're not. Am I dropping out again to you, mate?
No, I just didn't hear it, sorry.
Okay, no, it's all right. It's okay. Teething problems, it's fine, it's all right. 60% chance of rain, apparently, in this Grand Prix, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what that is going to do to strategy. I know you're a bit behind, Jonty, but the leaders are now lining up on the grid, ready to go. I'm now getting those butterflies. Everyone will understand the butterflies in the stomach when the race is about to kick off. It's very, very exciting. Lewis Hamilton, quite slow to the grid. He likes to do this, doesn't he, when he's not on pole. He's not the only one. That wasn't any knock at him. A lot of drivers like to do that when they're a little further down the grid and out of position. It's I don't know how much of a disadvantage it really is these days with tyre blankets and the softer tyres, but I suppose we will find out. Just waiting for the Toro Rosso of Pierre Gasly to line up on the grid. It seems to be taking a while to get these boys round to the Grand Prix, but it looks, and here we go, we have got the green flag. Here we go. Apologies in advance for cheesy. We've got 3 red lights, 4 and 5, and the German Grand Prix it's go. It's a really decent start from Valtteri Bottas, but Sebastian Vettel cuts across Schumacher-esque to block him off. A great start from Vettel. Manages to keep his lead. We've got a Haas going wide through turn 1 as well. But everybody, rather frustratingly in that top 4, have kept their position. We've got a big lock-up from, I think, Nico Hülkenberg running into turn 2. But he keeps his position quite nicely there. And Kimi Räikkönen all over the road there. Real twitch, and Max Verstappen is right on the back of him, looking back for Lewis Hamilton. I don't know how he's doing, but quite a way back. And Carlos Sainz having a really good run at one of the Haas's, and Max Verstappen is side by side with Kimi Räikkönen into that hairpin, but Räikkönen on the inside just keeps it up. Big lock up from a Force India wheel to wheel with Marcus Ericsson, I believe that is. So very tight, but Max Verstappen is not giving this up on Kimi Räikkönen. Remember what happened in Austria. Just remember that one, but it doesn't look as though there's going to be any contact. Max Verstappen really hounding him on this opening lap, and Kimi Räikkönen is a little bit all over the road, but Sebastian Vettel is definitely pulling away now from Valtteri Bottas, who's also pulling away from Räikkönen. Räikkönen looks as though he's just about fought off that charge from Max Verstappen at the front of the grid. Lewis Hamilton side by side into that really dodgy hairpin, as I like to call it, in the stadium section. And he just about sneaks through, waiting for an update on his position, I believe. He has climbed quite a way up now. He's down 1 actually off the line, so that will take him back up to 14th. Was that Ocon he overtook? No, Hamilton's had a really poor opening lap. He's behind Ocon. He's down in 13th, but now he's alongside Ocon into turn 1. Nice and easy. Breezes past. That looked a little bit too easy, you could probably argue. He's now up ahead of Esteban Ocon and behind, the time he's not updating on the live feed for some reason, but behind Fernando Alonso, twitching all over the place, is Lewis Hamilton. But the front three already, Jonty, look as though they're settling into a bit of a rhythm.
I would think so. I'm going to have to apologise and say this isn't going to work at my end. I'm at least a minute and a half behind. So you carry on, mate.
That's a bigger delay that we can still try and talk strategy through this one, so we'll see how we get on. But as the race settles down, obviously there's probably going to be less to talk about, especially with the front three starting to disappear now quite a bit. Just looking at the live timing, Vettel is comfortably out front really at the moment. 1.1 clear of Valtteri Bottas, 1.4 now. Kimi Räikkönen on team radio. Nothing really moaned about, that's all right. Then Max Verstappen 1.1 behind Raikkonen. Race control, DRS is of course enabled. That's just surprised me. Spots of water on Raikkonen's visor, but DRS enabled, Jonty, at the end of lap 2. Is that right? I thought it was the end of lap 3.
Yeah, it should be 2 complete laps.
That's an odd one, but anyway, that's all right. It's all sorted now. So, big twitch from Williams in the background there. Lewis Hamilton all over the back of Fernando Alonso. I would fully expect this could be quite easy once they get onto that long straight and run down to the hairpin. Going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Again, Vettel now 1.7 clear of Bottas. He's going for it out front, doing what Vettel did best through 10 and through 2010 through 2013. Just get out front, control the race and disappear a little bit like he did in Silverstone. Bottas trying to cling on to him, but all attention on the world feed appears to be on one man, and that's Lewis Hamilton. Ricardo, watch if you're interested. He's up to 18th place. So not a great opening lap for him, but I'd like to see a replay of how he did, because I'm just wondering if anyone in chat has spotted anything with Ricardo, maybe just a bit of a shaky start. I'm not entirely sure on that. Hamilton having a little sniff up the inside of Alonso. Do you know, first rant. We're 3 laps in. I'm going to go with first rant. Lewis Hamilton up the inside of Fernando Alonso, who basically just moves right out of the way. It's racing, guys, whether he's quicker or not. Come on, at least try and make it interesting. You can understand why people get frustrated, don't you, Jonty, when people just jump out of everybody else's way?
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not their fight, it's the first stage of the race. Hold them up a little bit more, you could reward from it later.
It's a little bit different here, though, because obviously with rain on the horizon, it could well be Alonso's fight a little bit later in the Grand Prix if strategy all works out for him.
Yeah, exactly. You've really got to try and play to your strengths. And they haven't got many at the moment, so make the most of everything.
Just waiting to... somebody in chat saying you have delay. Yeah, there's about a 10-second delay. There's all complaints to YouTube on that one, I'm afraid. There's absolutely nothing I can do about that one. I can reduce it to a lower latency, but that means you're going to get a lot of lag. And as we saw in the qualifying stream, people were a lot more frustrated with lag than they were with... or the practice stream, I think. More frustrated with the lag than they were with a little bit of a delay. Leclerc, is he going to make this easy for Hamilton? Yeah, fairly, but... I suppose we can look at it from a strategical point. It's not really their fight at the moment, but Lewis Hamilton already up into P10. No great surprise there, but big surprise, Ricciardo still 18th. I'm going to watch him on the replay here to see if he gets anywhere near... Gets a poor start, Ricciardo. Gasly jumps him straight off the line. Whether that was an intentional start to avoid any first corner chaos, I doubt it. I think he'd like to be in the mix there, but no, pretty shaky start from Daniel Ricciardo, and fell back. Van Dorn, by the way, fell back as well, so... A little bit, I expected more. I expected a lot more there from Daniel Ricciardo on board with Max Verstappen now. He's got a nice run down to top. It was alongside Kimi Räikkönen in turn 1, but thought better of it. That could have ended. That could have ended with a little bit of contact, which of course would have been pretty disastrous for both drivers in that case. But then Kimi Räikkönen comes off of turn 2. Little lock up into turn 2, I think. Got a twitch on, and that allowed Verstappen a run at him. Just look at another one here. That was obviously Hamilton and I believe Sirotkin. So that was a little bit close to contact as well between the Force India and the Williams. So interesting start. Nothing overly dramatic. And then Hamilton has just a replay of him throwing it nice and easy up the inside of Esteban Ocon into turn 1. So no great surprise. Anyone in chat surprised that we've got a Mercedes cruising through that? I expect more from Alonso. I suppose there's a lot of respect there between Hamilton and Alonso. Maybe that's what Alonso's thinking as well, Jonty. But it'd be nice to see him put more of a fight. It's Fernando Alonso, double world champion.
Yeah, but perhaps that's also him being wise enough to not fight against it, even though we really think he should.
Yeah, it's one of those. He really needs to be scrapping the best he can. Just have a look through the field. Anyone what's made big gains? Grosjean's dropped to 7th. Hulkenberg up to 6th. They've effectively, they have swapped places. Perez up to 8th. Really good first lap for him. Leclerc down to 11th. Sirotki's dropped to 15th. He's going to need some rain today if he's going to do anything. Ricciardo now up to 16th. Gasly is plumb last, and Van Dorn is 19th. So, no huge surprises through the field. Hamilton already on the back of the Renault, so...
One of the big surprises was Ricciardo's start. It was terrible.
Expected more, didn't we, from him back there? I really did think that he was going to do a lot better from the back of the field. Now, do you think maybe perhaps, just a little perhaps, he was thinking, let's avoid any Turn 1 chaos?
Well, he could well have been thinking that, and it will always be in their minds, but it wasn't just a bad start. It took him a good couple of laps to get up to pace as well.
Yeah, I just, yeah. Maybe, what tyre did he start on? It was the ultra soft, wasn't it, that he started? And Hamilton's on the soft, so I'd assume. Just have a look on the live, yeah, I don't know, the live timing, the official F1 live timing isn't updating, which is really, really helpful, by the way, F1. Thank you for that one. But if Hamilton's on soft, I fully expect that we would see Ricciardo on soft as well. There we go. It's updated now. Ricciardo on mediums. There we go. That's what I've missed. Well, that could explain the start then, Jonty, on the medium tyres.
To some degree, but compared to the Toro Rosso and the McLarens and the Williams, he should still be substantially quicker than that. I mean, he's catching up. He's still only 16th.
Yeah. He's the only one on the mediums in the whole field, which, if there are spots of rain starting to fall already, if it doesn't rain heavily enough for a while, he could be sitting very pretty here, John. If he can keep some good pace up, we get heavy rain as predicted sort of 45, 50 minutes into the race, he could only have to make the one stop, whereas the leaders need to make two.
Yeah, exactly. This was the strategy I was talking about earlier. The minimal pit stop number is the best, always the best way to go. Only assuming the tyres can stand it.
Grosjean complaining already of rear tyres. He's got too much rotation, so having some issues at the back of his car already, and it won't help when you lock up like that in the hairpin, Grosjean. Not very good. Great scrap there. They're side by side coming out of there. He's on the grass as well, but Perez just holds the position. It was Grosjean's lock up into that corner, and Perez took full advantage of that, but great little scrap between that. Perez really good first 7 laps, actually, up to P7 from P10. I know it doesn't sound that spectacular, but still pretty decent from him. Ricciardo and Hamilton, watch Ricciardo P15 and Lewis Hamilton is in P9, all over the back of Romain Grosjean. I wonder how easy this one will be, Jonty. Ferrari power versus Mercedes power.
Yeah, I think it's still fairly easy which one's going to win out there. A couple of months ago, we'd have been saying Mercedes, but should be Ferrari now.
Just having a watch now, he's Hamilton really pushing Grosjean. I'm just wondering if Grosjean will make it as easy as Alonso and co did. I'd be surprised if he did, although Leclerc didn't really fight it too much, but I suppose certainly from a Charles Leclerc perspective, that's definitely not his fight. Just looking at this incident again between Perez and Grosjean. Grosjean locks up during the overtake, and Perez really puts the squeeze on the exit of that corner, and Grosjean right onto the grass. So I don't know. I'm sure Grosjean's probably kicking off on team radio, but I'd be surprised if that gets any penalty. Lewis Hamilton with the DRS throws it past Grosjean, and I would assume, easy move into the hairpin up into P8. No great surprises. I mean, I'm trying to make it exciting to see a Mercedes beating the midfield, but it's quite difficult to do because we fully expected this. We saw it at Silverstone, didn't we, Jonty? The gaping chasm between the top 3 in that midfield. Yeah,
it's massive. I mean, what was it at Silverstone? We only had 3 or 4 cars on the lead lap.
Something like that, wasn't it? There weren't many, and that kind of says it all, doesn't it? Live timing as well. Thank you very much, Planet F1. They're absolutely brilliant on there, and looks like that's updating very, very nice as well for all of you. Don't forget there is a slight delay between me and whatnot. What I'm saying now, you're not going to hear for about 10 seconds. So I do apologize. Nothing again I can do about that. You're going to have to put your complaints to YouTube, but I think that's something to do with the technical side of encoding and. Yeah, I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm not entirely sure myself, but it's just the way that YouTube works. So I know it is better on Twitch, but I don't want to split the audience too much by heading over there. So that kind of makes sense. Vettel, by the way, now 3.6 seconds clear of Valtteri Bottas. This is looking very, very good for Vettel at the moment. Raikkonen 1.4 behind the Finn. Verstappen 2 seconds further back. Magnussen already 11.5 seconds off Verstappen. It's that gap starting to really display. Hulkenberg's in there, and that's Lewis Hamilton having to go up the inside of Sergio Perez. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. That's all I can say on that one. So he's now up to P7 and chasing down Hulkenberg. Here goes Ricciardo up the inside of Marcus Ericsson. Another very good move from him up into P15. Ericsson coming back. Nope. Ricciardo takes that position. He's up to now 14th place and onto the back of Ocon. So not bad progress now from Ricciardo. But again, we expected more early on, didn't we, John T? But he's starting to make moves.
Yeah, he is. I mean, because I've got the slight delay, I'm kind of watching the times a bit more, and I'm quite surprised by the gap between fourth and fifth. I mean, we know that the front teams are so much quicker, but Magnussen, 12 seconds down from Verstappen already.
It's a huge gap, isn't it? Because obviously Haas have got that Ferrari engine, and we kind of expected them to be, or I certainly was saying yesterday, I thought they might be able to take the fight to Verstappen, but certainly they're just falling away very, very quickly. Whether they're looking after those ultra softs a little bit, because obviously they used ultras, aren't they? Maybe trying to get them a little further into the Grand Prix, perhaps, maybe.
That's wishful thinking, I think.
Probably we know Grosjean's struggling on his tyres as well, already down to P9. Has Grosjean pitted? No, sorry, that's the live points. Ignore me. He has not pitted at all. By the way, didn't mention Sergio Perez, also on the used ultras. He is now behind Lewis Hamilton, who is on a fresh set of soft tyres. So he's going to run long, Hamilton, on this one. That's the point. I know I've mentioned that already, but he is going to be running very, very long in this race. Ricciardo making a move now up the inside of Esteban Ocon. But again, with the rain, Hamilton and Ricciardo, if that comes, they're pulling themselves right into play here, John T.
Yeah, but whatever time the rain comes, someone is going to have to be brave and go early to try and make any big impact on the lead.
In terms of, obviously, you're looking at the timing then, John T, at the moment. So we're sort of lap 11 now, looking at strategy from here. Who do you see pulling the first move on an undercut? Who do you think is going to sort of be the cork in the bottle, if you like, for that move?
It's going to be Verstappen or Bottas. It has to be.
I think that's why Vettel's maybe pushing quite hard out front now, trying to get out of that undercut window, because 3.8, I think he might just be okay with that one. It actually, no, he should be okay with that one. It's all down to what Bottas can do on his in-lap and out-lap, as we saw in China, of course. But I think it's worth it for Verstappen to go for it, because he's not going to be pitting 5, 6, 7 laps before them, is it? It'll only be a couple of laps, so it's got to be worth the gamble. If rain's coming, you may as well get these tyres off and go for a quicker one.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. If the rain is going to come, this first stop from the ultras needs to be early-ish, so you get the biggest chance. So you're not losing too much trying to eke them out when you're never going to get to the rain stop anyway.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, just moved up to 6th place past Nico Hulkenberg. He is 2.5 behind Kevin Magnussen, so I'd imagine that's going to come down quite quickly. And that would mean Lewis Hamilton will be, what is that? Looking at his gap to the leader now. It's still quite a gap. It's still quite a gap to the leader. What, 24.5? That's a pit stop, isn't it? So I don't know about the win, but he could certainly be on for a podium here if he gets strategy right in the rain, if it comes at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that being in P6 now is a net P5 with what orders Bottas would get.
Do you think Mercedes would pull that now just after they signed a new contract?
Yeah, they would have to justify the contract with Lewis.
Fair point. Very fair point, yeah. Bottas catching Vettel a little bit now. 3.6 the gap's down to. A couple of tenths on that lap. So he's certainly starting to come back at Sebastian Vettel. Raikkonen really falling back on Bottas, though. 2.1, that's a few tenths there. And obviously Bottas picking the speed up. But I thought Raikkonen would be right on the back of that Mercedes. I really did. And only 1.8 up from Verstappen as well.
Yeah, but it's not that big a gap, really. Not in these situations. It's just a case of how much of Vettel and Bottas pushing. You've got to assume they're going to be pushing harder just to try and get out of that gap.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit surprised by 2.4 now. So Bottas, it's another 3 tenths out of Vettel's lead. Bottas pulling away from Raikkonen by the same amount as well. Verstappen kind of 1.5 behind Raikkonen. So Bottas on the move now. So that would say to me we're on the brink of pit stops here, John. I reckon he's been given the order to push. Magnussen, though, falling even further back now, 16 seconds off Verstappen, and Hamilton cruising up behind now, just 1.2 seconds. Clouds are starting to roll in. I saw Racing in chat a little bit earlier saying no rain. So whether or not, obviously I don't know if he's referring to right now, but whether or not it's going to happen, it looks like it will. About 60% chance, I think. So there's going to be a lot of talk about rain in this because it looks as though, unfortunately, it's settling, let's be nice, it's settling down a little bit. So I think we're going to need the rain soon to really spice this up, or a bit of an accident. But there's quite a bit of a good gap between quite a few cars, actually. Obviously, there's a good scrapping on track. Just looking for a scrap. Obviously, Alonso and Leclerc again together on track. That should come as no surprise, John. It's always Alonso and Leclerc at the minute.
Yeah, I think they're just enjoying it. They know it's not really going to make that much difference to their results, but if they can have a good fair scrap, it's got to be a laugh.
The old guard challenged by the upcoming kids. I think Alonso does enjoy that, but I think Alonso has just thrown it up the inside of, I might be wrong. No, he hasn't. Sorry, I was looking at Van Dorn with somebody else. But yeah, Alonso coming under pressure as well from Daniel Ricciardo. Still only P13, but again on those medium tyres. Might be thinking long-term in this Grand Prix, he's going to have to. Leclerc P11. I'll give you a quick rundown of the order. I may as well, while things are settling down quite nice. We've got Vettel, Bottas, Raikkonen, Verstappen, Magnussen, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Perez, Grosjean and Sainz are your top 10. There's scraps in there to keep an eye on. Hamilton already right on the back of Kevin Magnussen, and Carlos Sainz is closing in on Romain Grosjean, who still looks as though he's struggling on those tyres. Leclerc only 1.2 seconds outside the top 10, half a second clear of Fernando Alonso, is only 8 tenths up the road from Daniel Ricciardo. That is an interesting three-way fight. Hamilton throws it with DRS past Kevin Magnussen up into P5, 17.5 seconds now off Verstappen. Looking back down the grid, Ocon 1.3 behind Ricciardo. He's got Ericsson behind him. Sirotkin and Stroll together on track. Stroll 1.8 behind Sirotkin, so probably say not too bad there from Stroll, actually, given the difference in their starting position. Hartley 6 tenths off Stroll, Van Dorn 19th, and Gasly right at the back, but right on the back of Stoffel Van Dorn. And Ferrari are coming out with a set of the soft tyres. I can only assume, with Bottas starting to push a little bit, that's going to be for Sebastian Vettel, and it's not, it's for Kimi Raikkonen. Interesting. So trying to force Mercedes there, Jonty, into making a decision by the look of it. Bit of a slow start.
They're definitely trying to force their hand with Bottas, since he's the immediate threat. Either that, unless they're trying to get him out in front of Hamilton.
I was just going to say that, yeah. Raikkonen on pit exit, just about ahead of Lewis Hamilton. That's a very good. I think that's probably a bigger call. I actually think you're right with that one, Johnson. But he's going to have the fresh tyres now to really force Bottas into a call. A couple of seconds off him when he pitted, so the undercut is possible. It's yeah, I think frustration there for Mercedes probably. I think Hamilton would have got him with another lap there, but Raikkonen, perhaps maybe Hamilton, that's not his fight now. Maybe P4 is the best he can hope for from there, if he can kind of get the move done on Verstappen.
Well, this is where Mercedes have got to learn from all of their many past mistakes and react immediately with Bottas to make sure he can get out in front of Raikkonen. It looks like they're on damage control. They're trying to minimise the points that Hamilton loses. And if they can get Bottas out in front of Raikkonen, it can make it easier for Hamilton to get past him.
Just a replay of Fernando Alonso throwing it up the inside of Charles Leclerc, locking up and running very, very wide on the exit of the hairpin, and Leclerc keeps that position. P11, Alonso 12, Ricciardo right on the back of the Spaniard, though. This is going to be, I love watching Ricciardo and Alonso overtake anyway, when you get the two together on track, which doesn't happen very often these days, but I thoroughly enjoy it when we get Ricciardo versus Alonso. So, yeah, it's, as I say, it's settling down, trying not to say that it's all getting, we always get a lull in races, so I'm hoping that this is the calm before the, well, literal storm, hopefully, Jonty.
But maybe not storm.
just a drizzle. just a drizzle will do quite nicely. So, absolutely. If you are just joining us for the first time, no race feed, unfortunately, I can't do it. Obviously, copyright reasons. There's nothing I can do. They take the channel down in a heartbeat. So it's live timing provided very kindly by Planet F1. Really appreciate that. Links to them in the description. Follow them on Twitter as well. And my alternative, cheesy, terrible commentary with a little bit from Jonty. Obviously, Jonty, if you just joined us, has a bigger delay due to the unique way that Sky Go likes to work. But next week, we're Channel 4, I think, for the Hungaroring, aren't we? So we'll be in sync next time out, Jonty. But we're doing all right. I think we're managing all right. So I'll look through for where the battles are on the grid now. Who is where? Ericsson closing in on Ocon, interestingly enough. So that's maybe one to watch a little bit further down. But in terms of the points, Leclerc 1.4 behind Sainz for 10th place. Sainz just behind Grosjean. Actually, Grosjean doing very well, given he was complaining about his tyres a little bit ago. Raikkonen is quickest at the moment. He's the fastest man out there, a 1:17.581. No great surprise. Fresh tyres there. So just going to keep a close eye on him now, and that might force Bottas. Just looking at Bottas's last lap, a 1:18.5. That's a second quicker. I'm just wondering, Jonty, that might almost be enough for Raikkonen to jump Bottas in the pit stops here. That could be a mistake by Mercedes, not bringing Bottas in sooner.
Yeah, well, this is what I said a couple of minutes ago. Mercedes, again, making mistakes on the strategies by not reacting. Yes, you have your own strategies and ideas to run, but you absolutely have to be able to react to other teams when it's needed.
Raikkonen's flying. Ricciardo pulls a move on Fernando Alonso, but Alonso's coming back at him on the exit of the hairpin, but I think the Red Bull just has enough there to stay ahead of Fernando Alonso. Renault Power versus Renault Power, of course, this year, so good to see Alonso having a good scrap. He'll be enjoying that. I know it's only for 12th and 13th, but Alonso will be enjoying that. But Raikkonen fastest in the first set. He's absolutely flying out there, and I think, I don't know what strategy Mercedes are going for here. Maybe they're going to try and whack the mediums on Bottas and wait for rain, or whether they're just trying to run as long as possible on his ultras. I don't know. But I think Raikkonen's got him. Let me know what you think in chat. This is certainly, just looking at Bottas's last lap, a 1:18.5. That could be from his lap before, actually. But again, Raikkonen absolutely on it this lap. So fastest lap again was Kimi Raikkonen, 17.3. So 1 point, he's got Bottas. That's 2.2 seconds in 2 laps. Just double checking my times there. Yeah, I think he's got him. I think that's a big mistake. I think you're right, John. It's a huge mistake from Mercedes.
Yeah. You always have to react to what's going on track. How many times have Mercedes done this over the last couple of years? It's crazy.
Are they too busy watching Vettel, do you think, worrying about him maybe?
I'm not sure, but I don't get, do they not watch what's going on the track? I mean, it's really confusing. They've got to be able to see that Raikkonen will jump them. You know, it's going to happen if he comes in before. You've got to have the driver fighting him in the pits the next lap. Everyone knows this in Formula One, and you see all the other teams do it.
Just looking at Lewis Hamilton as well, he's falling back quite a bit on, as into the pits comes Nico Hülkenberg, but Hamilton falling back on Raikkonen, but he is quicker than Bottas. So Raikkonen hasn't made much of a difference as we were thinking there to impede Lewis Hamilton. He's just kind of got on with it for the sake of jumping Bottas, and it's working for Ferrari at the moment here. And I would probably argue that if Hamilton can keep that pace up versus his teammate, he could nick a podium here, you know.
Yeah, but at what cost for the team?
That's true.
Because Bottas is already losing out.
Yeah, Mercedes say, don't they? They're all about the Constructors' Championship as priority, and then the drivers. Nico Hülkenberg, by the way, rejoined in 16th place after his stop. Ricciardo right on the back of Charles Leclerc, P11 at the moment. Hamilton P5 if you're interested in Ricciardo and Hamilton watch. But Ricciardo really starting to hound Charles Leclerc. Hülkenberg already passed Sergei Sorokin up into 15th, so he's going to need to really get a move on and through any traffic he's got if he wants to capitalise on this. And there goes Ricciardo down the inside of Leclerc. Good easy bit. Leclerc coming back at him. Leclerc is coming back at him down the outside. That is wheel to wheel, but just about kept that one. Ricciardo probably got a bit overexcited, a bit crofty on that one. Not really ever a fight for Leclerc to worry about there. Ricciardo had the inside line for that corner. So stepping up now, Ricciardo. Lap time's not too bad from him. What is he? P10 at the moment. 1:19.7. Obviously with traffic, so not awful. He's quicker than Sainz ahead of him. Quicker than Grosjean, kind of matching Magnussen, so it's not too bad from Ricciardo at the moment. He might be able to get inside that top 6. I still think that's probably, would you say minimum Red Bull would expect from him today, P6?
Yeah, it would have to be. The chasm between the top 3 teams and the rest, you would be asking serious questions if he wasn't able to do that.
Just listening there to Paul Di Resta at the Sky Race Control thing or whatever they call it. He's basically saying what you said there, Jonty, at the start of the race about having, this is the difference between having 2 Ferraris versus 1 Mercedes rather than 2 from each team. So Mercedes really have put themselves in a very awkward position. They kind of have to keep going with Bottas now, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they have to think that Ferrari, they got the pole position, good start, so they've got a car to play with to control the rest of the field. Mercedes should be aware of this and do everything they can to stop it happening, and they just haven't.
Absolutely. Just going to take, while we've kind of hit this little lull while we're waiting for a few pit stops, we're going to take a couple of your comments from the chat. Can I just say as well, nearly 1,300 people watching. That's made me nervous now. No pressure for the rest of this stream, but thank you very much. I think, that's almost top, isn't it, Jonty? Or did we do? I think we did a 1,400 once, didn't we, for a race debrief or something? Possibly.
I think that was after Bahrain because it was just such an amazing race.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you very much to everyone tuning in. If you're watching because you can't catch it on TV in the UK or anywhere else in the world, then that's pretty awful. I'm going to stop. I was going to take your comments. We've got loads of pit stops kicking off now. We've got Sainz and Leclerc in. Magnussen was in as well. He's come out in P11 just behind Esteban Ocon, but only just ahead of Marcus Ericsson. Big moment that for Magnussen. He needed that. Sainz and Leclerc, their pit exit. Leclerc is 20th. Sainz now down to 18th, but they should be able to make that up. And here goes Kevin Magnussen having a real go at Esteban Ocon. Magnussen in a little bit of no man's land in terms of his lap times at the moment, and kind of looks as though P6 is possible, unless, of course, Ricciardo can pull something out. But I think Magnussen kind of running his own race, really, Jonty. Like I say, in that no man's land, really.
Yeah, well, it's all he can do.
Good to say that about him, though, that he's kind of could just get on with it. I think he said, it might have been Gunter Steiner, actually, who said that at the start of the race that they wanted those up front to disappear so they could just have a nice, clean scrap with Renault. So that was maybe a little bit negative in a way because they're kind of on their own, really, aren't they? Renault are not really on their pace at the minute.
No, it's true, but they've still got Perez to contend to. And he's a master of making the tyres go long. So he could really be something to spoil their party by sticking between them.
Just watching on the replay, Leclerc and Alonso fighting again. Leclerc's got him this time. I love seeing them on track. Grosjean in the pits finally got rid of those tyres. He's been complaining about them for quite a while now. Ultra's running to lap 20, sort of like 18 really, I think was the earliest stops, wasn't it? So not too bad on the Ultras today. Obviously it's a little bit cooler with the possible cloud cover, but Grosjean rejoins just behind Brendan Hartley and ahead of Carlos Sainz. But Grosjean doesn't appear again to have the pace of his teammate Jonty. Come to in a second on that one because Grosjean is just having another go now past Hartley in quite a simple move with DRS on the run down to turn 6. Will Hartley come back? Sainz is in that mix as well. Will Sainz straight up the inside do a bit of a... Oh, and that was very nearly, sorry. Very close to if there wasn't there, I think that's a very slow Williams of Lance Stroll. Nearly had a Romain Grosjean right in the back of him and a Carlos Sainz in the back of it. I think there was a little bit of contact. I might be wrong. We'll get a replay of that, I'm sure. But I think Sainz may have just tapped the back of Grosjean there. If he didn't, that is some bloody good driving and just goes to show exactly what these brakes on an F1 car are like. But Grosjean, Jonty, nowhere really near Magnussen's pace today.
No, but there's still quite a long way to go. Look, I think Grosjean can pull this back. Oh, yeah, I just saw what you were on about. That was
a little bit close.
Messy.
Perez in the... We're just going to get a replay of this. This is another scrap. That is... Was that... Hulkenberg makes 2 positions there through turn 8, I think that is. Yeah, says on Team Radio, thanks for that. To the 2 squabbling, the Force India and the... They're still scrapping Sainz and co. So, yeah, it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Perez, by the way, who so far is my... surprise package of the day, actually, Jonty. Doing very, very nicely. Has pitted and rejoined in P15. Keep an eye on his lap times there as Grosjean makes a move on Lance Stroll. Williams, I know they're a bit of a meme now, Jonty, and we'll not talk too much about it now because it's definitely one for maybe the stream later. But Williams, as frustrating as it is and as their own making as it is still sad to see them just getting passed like that.
Like what?
Well, yeah. Yes, you're a little bit behind. Yeah, like they're just not basically moving. They look like they're parked as everyone's breezing past them. Yes, fresh tyres. Yes, DRS, but a little bit frustrating to see.
Now, we have to... You mentioned in Perez. It has to be said that he's jumped Sainz already, which says volumes about my one to watch.
Have you jinxed him like I've probably jinxed Ricardo?
Yeah, a little bit.
We like to jinx people here at the F1 Word. We try our best. Perez is stopped. Just getting a replay of that now. Seemed very slow. Not a little bit slow on the right front. Is that Perez? I'm sure that's Perez. Or is it Ocon? No, it was Ocon. Sorry. I do apologise in that one. But yeah, very slow stop there. Surprising. We're on lap 25 of 67. The stops have spiced it up a little bit. We've got Vettel, Bottas, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Alonso, Magnussen, Hulkenberg and Ericsson, your top 10. Vettel and Bottas yet to stop, as is Max Verstappen. That is a surprise for me, Jonty. Maybe not so much Vettel because he can look after his tyres out front, but certainly Bottas and Verstappen.
Verstappen's a bigger surprise, I think. Bottas really should be a bit closer. I mean, we know how strong the Ferrari is now, but he should be closer than that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm quite surprised, actually, that... Yeah, just wondering why they've gone so long. I mean, Raikkonen, purple in Sector 1 on the latest lap, so he's still absolutely flying out there. He's quicker than Vettel on the last lap by 0.4 of a second, half a second quicker than Verstappen. Wow, 0.8 quicker than Bottas. So Raikkonen pulling himself right into this one, Jonty, and maybe he has forced the likes of Bottas and Verstappen into having to run long, because otherwise he's 100% got, and they've got to try something different now, surely.
Yeah, Raikkonen's got P2 in the bag as it stands. He's just gained so much from that undercut.
As I say that, Sebastian Vettel pulls into the pits for a set of soft tyres. Really good stop there. He locked up on that lap as well, so maybe that was a sign that things were going a little bit wrong for him in terms of tyre wear. Bottas goes through, Verstappen goes through. Raikkonen has jumped Sebastian Vettel. Well.
What?
Raikkonen has jumped Sebastian Vettel. Raikkonen set a 1:17.2 on that last lap. What a lap from him. Obviously, Vettel a 1:22.8 of his pit stop time there. Obviously, the time to go to the pit lane, but he has come out in front of Hamilton, so I wonder if that was their concern. But Raikkonen is net lead of this race, Jonty.
Yeah, well, I've got my better half here watching, so I'm keeping quiet of the things I hear. Big surprise.
It's, yeah. Sorry, I'm just a little bit surprised by that. Yeah, I suppose, but at the same time, it's not a problem for Ferrari to swap that around if they need to, is it? Really, let's be honest. But obviously, as the wonderful CGI graphics point out there, it's all a bit gimmicky, that, but I suppose it's a new generation. I'm an old, miserable man, and I'm probably complaining about that too much. But 8 points in the championship gap between the two of them, actually going to extend by quite a bit. I mean, at the minute, as it stands, only by a couple of points or so not huge. But I think Vettel, although Raikkonen is net lead, do you fully expect, Jonty, without giving too much away to the missus, do you fully expect that this will probably be swapped before the end of the race?
I would hope so. Well, not hope, but I would expect so. My hope is that it wouldn't. And that gives us the indication that Ferrari want to keep Raikkonen.
A great point in chat, but Raikkonen will need to make another stop. Absolutely. He did pit so much earlier. That could be quite pivotal towards the end. But everybody on softs or mediums at the moment in the field, except for the two leading pair of Bottas and Verstappen, who are still on those used Ultras. 27 laps they've gone. I'm quite surprised on that one as well.
These tyres are all going a lot further than I expected.
That's caught as Leclerc goes down the inside there of Sergei Sirotkin. Nice move, DRS there. Nice powerful Ferrari engine. Move in the background as well between a Toro Rosso and a Williams. So that will be, I would imagine, Gasly and Stroll. It was indeed. So a few swaps of positions there, but Vettel absolutely flying as you would expect on these tyres now, Jonty, and closing in on his teammate, just waiting for him to go across the timing beam for the first time on that line to see just exactly how much quicker he is than Raikkonen. Obviously, last lap a 32 flat because he had the pit stop. Vettel does go across the line on the timing with a 1:17.4, 0.6 quicker than Raikkonen. Kimi, Sebastian is faster than you. Yes, I'm expecting that. But I think Kimi Raikkonen's smart enough, even without team orders, isn't he, Jonty, to know that his teammate's quicker and to get out of the way if he needs to. He doesn't need to be compromising their strategy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a fair comment, but he's not allowed to think anymore, remember?
what he said the other week, wasn't it? That was brilliant. Absolutely loved that. Am I not allowed to think for myself anymore? No, Kimmy, you are not. You are not. Refreshing that so that I've got a nice up-to-date timing screen, which is very, very lovely. Thank you once again. I'm going to say it a few times in this Planet F1 for letting me use their live timing. Hopefully be able to do this every race weekend now. They're brilliant over there. Really appreciate them letting me do that. And they're updating quite nicely as well, so I hope they're all okay for you guys too. I know if you're watching on the world feed, there's going to be a delay between me and the timing as well, so not a lot I can do about that. Again, complaints to YouTube. I'll say that a few more times. A little bit frustrating. Not a lot I can do though, so... we'll manage. I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing okay. Vettel already locking up on those tyres. Big lock-up as well. Obviously, the slow-mo replay makes that look a little bit worse, but that's a big lock-up, and Mercedes are ready for Bottas. It has to be Bottas, and he is coming into the pit lane now. I don't know what strategy they're running, Jonty, but it still feels like too little too late. Looked like a pretty good stop. Just waiting for the time to come up on screen, but for some reason they're not showing us the pit stop times, which is a little bit frustrating, but that looked pretty okay. Maybe a little bit slower than Ferrari. We have yellow flags. Oh, and Daniel Ricciardo is out of the German Grand Prix. He's losing power. That was his complaint over the radio. Is another mechanical problem for a guy who's taken engine penalties this weekend to combat that. And once again, you can completely understand why Red Bull have had absolutely enough. Absolutely enough of this from Renault. And will that be a virtual safety car? I just need to look again where that was. I think he should be okay because he's on the inside of the track, so he might be okay with that one. But Daniel Ricciardo, if Hayley's watching, I don't know if she's at work, but massive. She'll be gutted. She'll be absolutely gutted when she watches this later, Jonty, won't she? Will our Haley?
Yeah, that's another bit of disappointment.
Verstappen has the lead, by the way. Just wait and see if I don't think they'll need a virtual safety car. I don't know if you've seen where it's parked yet, Jonty.
It shouldn't need VSC because it's not in the firing line. However, it is where someone would hit if they lose the rear coming out the corner. When they get on the power, it's possible.
Verstappen pits, maybe Red Bull preempting a possible VSC there. But Verstappen pits. Hamilton moves into third place. Raikkonen leads from Vettel, but just a second between them now on that last lap. Obviously, yellow flags will be taken into account, but Raikkonen 19.2, Vettel an 18.8. Hamilton an 18.8 as well, still matching leader's pace. So I think he's brought himself into this actually quite nicely, Lewis Hamilton. I don't know about the win again, but probably he might be able to be on the fringes of a podium, and they have wheeled that Red Bull out the way without the need of a safety car, but yet more disappointment for Ricciardo, who's supposed to be signing, according to reports this morning, a new deal next week at Red Bull. So this won't change his mind because this is clearly a Renault issue, isn't it, rather than a Red Bull issue. But that is so frustrating, doing so well to come through the field as well. And the medium tyres, will never know, Jonty, if our range strategy would have worked now. No
idea, which is a shame. But you have to think that he'll be happy for the Honda deal for them now. He's getting Max's season from last year.
Strange how that's happened, isn't it? Really. Just look at Van Dorn in the pits as well, down in 16th place. Not a good day for him either, but just so much frustration around Red Bull at the minute, and once again let down by Renault. And quite frankly, it's not, Red Bull are doing nothing wrong. They're doing all they can. They gave him a really good strategy to try and pull off in the race. He was making up good ground, and it's all just gone to pot again. And I feel for him. I feel for him and Verstappen, quite frankly. I think they have had their share of bad luck. We saw it last year. Bottas, by the way, fastest lap 16.9, fastest by a way today. But they need some luck. And I bet Red Bull secretly are wishing 29 here quicker than maybe even they expected they would be, Jonty.
Yeah, they really have just had enough. I would be looking forward to next year if I was them.
We've got Kevin Magnussen making a move on Fernando Alonso. Does the Spaniard come back up the inside? Not quite. He's not going to get that one done. Of course, a little mini war of words between them two this week. Loved Alonso's comeback. I do like Magnussen, but Alonso's comeback was brilliant to that one. And Sergio Perez up the inside of Marcus Ericsson there as well. So Perez doing very well today. Very impressed with him. Grosjean quite disappointed with, to be honest. Alonso up to P8, by the way. I don't know. Has Alonso pitted? No, he hasn't yet. So that'll be part of that. Hamilton also yet to stop. Who else is yet to stop while we're doing that? I think we've got Ericsson yet to pit. There's also Ocon has pitted. Gasly yet to pit. Ricciardo obviously didn't pit. He's retired. So a few yet to stop yet. So keep an eye on that one. As for a weather update, if you're interested, it doesn't look at the moment as, again, Alonso having a bit of a go there with one of the Renaults, which will be Nico Hulkenberg, but it doesn't look like the rain's rolling in at the moment, but still quite a way to go. Well, we're getting on to the 50-minute mark, so we expected it by now. Are we going to get disappointed here, Jonty, and let down again by the weather forecast?
I'm not sure, because we did hear Brundle talking a minute ago that the wind was getting cooler and blowing in from his test by sticking something outside instead of trying to rely on radars.
Alonso pits, he had to on those tyres. They look absolutely finished all over the road. Terrible tyres. He's run very long on them. Just looking at the onboard now, he's big lock up into the hairpin at the stadium section. And that's, he had to pit after that, aside from anything. All over the road, no grip. He's come in and will rejoin, I would imagine, probably around 15th, maybe. Yep, there goes Gasly. So he's going to be 40th to 15th. The battle at the front, Raikkonen still leads 1.3 seconds ahead of teammate Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton still in third. Bottas in fourth place with Verstappen in fifth. Magnussen sixth. Hulkenberg seventh. Grosjean eighth. Perez in ninth. Ericsson, for the Discord posse, is P10, but yet to stop. He is yet to stop, so don't get too excited just yet. Leclerc, Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Ocon, Alonso has just rejoined for his pit stop. Hartley, Stroll, Sorokin, and Van Dorn. So, got some team ready from Raikkonen. So Raikkonen already complaining of blisters. And Vettel complaining of his rears getting too hot. Any predictions, Jonty, about what may be about to happen?
If there's already complaints so quick on those softs, do we think anyone other than Hamilton can go to the end?
Well, Lewis can pit, can't he, for the medium tyres if he wants to. And they should see him quite well, because Ricciardo was going very well on them.
Yeah. Everyone else, it looks like they're going to have to stop, because if they're getting blisters, they can't get to the end on them. These softs, no way.
I'm just wondering if that's, not entering into tinfoil hat or anything like that when it comes to Ferrari team orders. I think common sense to me would say if Raikkonen's blistering and he's now starting to affect Vettel's tyres, they need to make that switch. But then if Vettel is that much quicker, he should be making the move.
Yeah, exactly. If your car's faster, go past him.
It's going to be, just intrigued by this one. Now, apparently rain in 10 minutes is forecast. So that's going to spice things up very nicely as Vettel comes through to lap Alonso and gets well out of the way. Experience there, but Vettel definitely 9/10 now behind Kimi Raikkonen. I think that's what may have to happen. Whether that's what Ferrari are thinking, I don't know. But again, like we say, John T, if he's quicker, then he needs to get it done. So, but Bottas is definitely... This could be bringing Bottas back into play a little bit. If Ferrari are going to start struggling on their tyres, if Bottas maybe can look after his a little bit better, Hamilton can run longer as well, we might be seeing Vettel... Vettel complaining that he's losing time behind Raikkonen. So I think they're going to have to swap them because Bottas is currently, I think, a little bit... He's a second quicker than Sebastian Vettel on the last lap. That swap needs to happen. That swap does need to happen.
Yeah, it's just a case. Do you allow it to happen if you're Kimi?
That's an argument for another day. I think just looking at a replay of Lewis Hamilton's rear left tyre looks very, very damaged, but again, not the worst. So he's done well at managing them. He's gone 35 on a soft switch, obviously with reduced fuel load. Well, Ferrari might be all right, reduced fuel load, 35 laps for Hamilton so far. It's all big lockup from Toro Rosso there. Big lockup, but keeps it on track somehow. Just trying to kind of speculate a little bit on strategy here, but Mercedes might be sitting a little bit more pretty than we thought, John T.
Yeah, but that's only looking in sort of the current track position of things. You still have to account for the pace of the Ferraris. I don't think they've got an answer at the moment, not with the strategies that they're on. They've got to be praying for rain.
Stoffel Van Dorn. I think that is cruising around. It is Van Dorn on the slow. Looks like race over for him. That's a shame. Everyone knows I like Stoffel and I highly rate him, but he's having a miserable season. And this weekend, Jonty has been absolutely horrific for him. But it looks as though, yep, the team are getting ready to retire him. Game over for Van Dorn.
Yeah, although, well, like we mentioned in the pre-race, it was good to see the support he's getting from Alonso.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. And I think, like we said in the pre-race, I think that kind of speaks volumes as well about maybe what Alonso's thinking for next year. I think he'd quite like Van Dorn as a teammate, wouldn't he? He's got, from a purely selfish double world champion perspective, he's got him right where he wants him. But I think he also really likes him. They get on really well. When you look at some of the stuff they share on social media, they get on very well as well. And Alonso likes a harmonious team.
Yeah, Alonso's been... It's been his new game this year of photobombing Stoffel.
Vettel all over the back of Kimi Räikkönen, now half a second between them. I think I've already said they need to make the switch. Bottas last lap 17.5, Räikkönen 18.3, Vettel 18.2. Hamilton yet to stop 18.9. Vettel complaining again on team radio, I think.
Is this where the Ferraris kind of get it wrong and crash into each other?
Don't say that. We've got to do a race debrief after that. Imagine the comment section. If that happens, we're finished. No chance. But yeah, Vettel really now starting to push. He needs to be getting past him. But again, if he's quicker, getting the move done. It's not always that easy, though, in the modern era of F1, is it? With the downforce and whatnot, Jonty. Not always possible to just make that move, I suppose. Frustratingly. Just looking here. Ooh, yeah, Gasly came back on the line after letting Raikkonen through. I think that's what Vettel wasn't very happy about as well. But through he goes. Gap now 1.3 between the two. Bottas still quicker out of everybody ahead of him. So, yeah, Verstappen a 17.5. He's quicker than the Ferraris as well at the moment, Jonty. So, big ask for him to get back into it, though, I think.
Yeah, it's like... Well, you've been plenty close enough, Seb. You know, if you're as fast as you insist you are, you shouldn't have any problem. This is always the biggest issue. But we'll get the blue flag song soon.
I'd love to play that on the stream. I love that. That gets stuck in my head. Thank you for that, by the way. That'll be stuck in my head all day now, Jonty. So just going to keep an eye on the world feed and whatnot. But just going to have a quick flick through the chat. Yeah, Vettel's still complaining to the team that he wants to switch, I think, talking about can you see the tyre temperature. So not a very happy Ferrari. Just having a look through. Romy says, keep the faith. Gasly just got in the way of Seb on track. Yes, he did. 2010 flashbacks. Of course, same circuit as well as 2010, interesting enough. I missed Ricciardo retiring. What happened? It was a loss of power is all I've heard at the moment. Anyway, whether that's been updated by anybody, I don't know. But he pulled over to the side of the racetrack. Game over for him. And that's despite, of course, having that power unit change and whatnot yesterday. So massive frustration for Daniel Ricciardo and for Red Bull as well.
The artist is going to be upset.
Yeah, she's not going to be happy, is she? She's not going to be happy. Gap to Big E says after Hamilton opening back up, I was bound to make a stupid noise on this stream. If you've heard the outtakes, you'll know it's not the first one I've ever made. Gap to Hamilton opening up. Not even rain can help Mercedes now. I don't know. Depends how heavy it comes as well, Big E. Of course, we've got the rule this year, haven't we, that if the rain falls heavy enough and they decide to put the red flag out, it's a standing start. Is it not, Jonty?
Yeah.
So that could change things up quite nicely. So anybody else really wishing that happens now? Maybe just me a little bit.
No, because we've got to fill that red flag time, which I'm not quite sure I'm prepared for just yet. We'll just be talking about all of our usual questions we won't be able to answer later on.
I've got my shopping list here. I can always read that if worst comes to worst.
Everyone knows it's just cornflakes.
It's just Tesco value cornflakes. Yeah, that's true. Max is closing fast. Come on, Hamilton, says Romy. John Hubner and Kimmy. Sorry, mate. Okay, sorry for the pause there. Kimi Räikkönen getting right out of Hamilton's way. Told you we're on different strategies and you both need to look after tyres. Kimi doesn't sound overly impressed. Yeah, they've made the switch. They have made the switch. Vettel now leads from Kimi Räikkönen. Hands up all that are shocked. If you say you're shocked, you're lying. That's all I'm going to say. No great surprise there. Vettel on radio complaining. Räikkönen does not I love that. I love the way Kimi deals with these things. He's just said on team radio, what do you want me to do? They come across with this code and, different strategies. He's saying, what do you want me to do? And then in the end, he was like, no, just tell me what you want me to do. So there you go. The switch has been made. Vettel leads. I think now is looking at the lap times, Jonty, and the fact Vettel is already pumping the times in. I think that is probably the right call from a team perspective to just protect that victory because Bottas was quicker.
No one should be shocked. It's Ferrari. We can talk about it being cynical and not liking it as much as we want, but it's always going to happen, and it will happen with all the teams, sadly.
Yeah, we're not a big fan of the team. Just look at the radar now. There is a big amount of rain rolling in. It is, looking at that radar, going to go right across the track. So rain looks set to happen. Only 27 laps to go, though. So it's going to have to be quite a big downpour if it waits much longer. But I suppose 27 laps, we've seen before, haven't we? Races sort of with maybe 20 laps to go, John, to get a big downpour, and it just completely changes everything. And you've almost got a second Grand Prix.
It only needs to happen. It only needs to be enough to make one corner wet.
So just telling Bottas about rain there. I just missed what exactly they said. So it looks as though it is on the horizon, for want of a better term. I'd love to see a bit of rain. But like you say, John, it doesn't have to happen for long, does it? Just needs a big downpour any time in the race and chaos. And I love those races. I think I've talked about it a couple of times. Germany 2000, when the rain soaks half of the track, leaves half of the track dry, and you get some of the field on slicks, some of them on wets, and it's a proper yo-yo. I love races like that. I really do.
Yeah, well, I've just seen that radar you're on about, and the direction it seems to be coming in, first place to get wet will be turn 2. One of the highest speed areas of the track.
That's going to be interesting. Bottas, fastest in the third sector, gone purple 23.5. So he's still got the pace on that last lap. Vettel 17.2, Raikkonen 17.8, Hamilton 17.8, Bottas 17.3. So he might still be on for second place here, but I still feel... Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in chat what you think. And obviously, John, you'll say as well. But I kind of feel, as we were saying earlier, Mercedes made a mistake not reacting to Raikkonen with Bottas.
Yeah, they really should have been. As it stands right now, Bottas could possibly have been net first. That's the thing that's going to sting.
Just having a look. Okay. Alonso's just been told a shower is on the screen. It will hit turn 1 and turn 2 first. Well done, Jonty. You get the prize for that one, mate. Just seen somebody in chat, I've missed your name, said that he wants somebody in the midfield to win this race. So I don't know about winning the race, but looking at the tyres they're on, Jonty, and some of the lap times, if the rain comes, who's looking quite pretty in that midfield at the moment? Obviously, it's going to come down to their pace in the wet, but who do we expect could spring a surprise? Not for the win, but maybe challenge Magnussen for 6th?
Big question.
I quite fancy Perez when you think back to Malaysia a few years back in that Sauber. I think he could do quite well.
Yeah, and he has shown some skills with changeable conditions in the past as well.
I think we're about to get a Mercedes switch here as well. Bottas right on the back of Hamilton, who still hasn't pitted. We're forgetting about him here. If the rain comes now, Hamilton could well be sitting pretty for a podium, Jonty, so maybe they won't be quite so keen to make that switch. Well,
they'll just be keen to make sure that he can make his tyres last as long as possible.
I'm going to shut my face because Hamilton is coming in for a set of ultra softs by the look of it. I think Ferrari are getting ready. So they couldn't get to the rain, Mercedes. That's, I think, what they're saying there. So in comes Hamilton for the ultra soft tyres. So he's going to be quick now.
The race here is against the clock now. It's against the clock of when that rain comes in.
Watching, so that's a good stop from Hamilton. He's going to come out behind Max Verstappen and should, with a 56-second gap back to Magnussen, should be okay. I was being sarcastic there. He'll be comfortable there, but he's going to come out in some traffic behind one of the Toro Rossos there, but they're a lap down, a little bit of traffic ahead of him, but P5 for Hamilton, 12.6 behind Verstappen, and that's going to be about 25 seconds off the lead, I think. Just waiting for his update, 24.7. So Hamilton, yeah, he could be in this, but with him having to pit now, I think that's possibly taken any chance of the win away now. Unless, of course, as we've seen in the wet, him and Verstappen, they're very good, Jonty. They could spring a surprise still.
Yeah, well, he's gone on to Ultras, and you've got to assume he's got a fresh set.
It's one of these weird races now where, okay, there's light rain in turn 6, but all of the talk now on TV, on team radio, watching the engineers, all the stops are done. It's turned into one of those races where everybody's staring at the sky, and as a fan, hoping we get some rain to try and mix this race up and give us a bit more excitement, because it's not been a dull race by any stretch, but it's not been the most thrilling. So a little bit of rain will spice it up nicely, Jonty, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's been a rain of the been a race of the strategy again. Just trying to wonder what the hell Mercedes are thinking.
It's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is from Bottas and whatnot, and Toto Wolff after this race, actually, given that they were already, I think, was it Toto Wolff said already this week that the team made too many mistakes in terms of strategy, so they're not learning from it. But look, we can sit and criticise and have our view on it. It is chucking it down up at the hairpin. That is not light rain. That is heavy rain up at the hairpin. Jonty, the rain has arrived, sir. I think we're about to get a Grand Prix.
That's what we want. I haven't seen it just yet.
They are tiptoeing around turn 6 already, just trying to. Obviously, it's gonna look worse for a driver, isn't it, on that visor at the speed they're doing? But obviously, we are wet in turn 6 and dry everywhere else. So all the mechanics on their feet, hovering around their wet weather tyres. This is going to get very interesting. This is all going to come down to who makes the call first, isn't it? And exactly who is where.
Who is where on the track.
And just a second here, and they are going to put the Inters on Mark and Charles Leclerc. They are gambling at Sauber. Come on.
Go on.
This is what we want. And in comes Leclerc. Yeah. They are putting the Inters on. Good lad. Go for it.
Yeah, because someone gets caught in the wrong place.
That could see him pretty for some good points. It looks like McLaren are going to do the same. Toro Rosso, so everybody who's got nothing to lose effectively is going for it. Is that Alonso? Alonso is putting the Inters on as well. We've got, I think that's Gasly in the background. He's putting the Inters on. Oh, Jonty, this has got interesting. The leaders, of course, the leaders can't take that gamble, can they? Vettel can't come in and put Inters on just in case it stops raining. It throws his race away. Yeah, Ericsson all over the back of Hamilton.
They can with Bottas.
Yeah, true. I mean, the rain at turn 6 is heavy, but the rest of the track looks bone dry. So I'm going to be watching sector times here.
It won't just stop there. It won't just stop there. It will keep coming. Oh!
Are you all right, mate?
I'm just praying for that rain to carry on moving across the track and have all 3 top teams caught out.
So it is slippery at turn 6. Obviously, Verstappen's just been off the road. But again, I'd see, could it be worth a gamble for him? Look at Hamilton. He's very slippery through 6. Very slippery. And Marcus Ericsson was right up behind him there. That's why I kind of had a giggle there. Marcus Ericsson all over the back of Lewis Hamilton. We don't see that very often. So enjoy that. Just going to watch Vettel come through turn 6 now. And this will give us a good idea as to just how wet it is. Understandably, the middle sector times are dropping quite a bit now. Has the rain stopped? No, it's still coming to... What man that has it stopped? It's still coming down just as heavily. So just keeping an eye on that one. They are tiptoeing round turn 6, but they're all fine through the rest of the lap. Intermediate... Pierre Gasly put the full wets on, Jonty. Sorry, I've just spotted that on the timing screen.
That's a bigger gamble than I would have thought.
It's starting to rain in the pit lane, apparently.
Yeah, that's moving right across the track.
And the slippery surface signs and whatnot are starting to get thrown about. Umbrellas going up as well. So interesting. Just have a look at the lap times now for those on the Inters. Leclerc 41.8.
They're still going to be very, very slow. But
give it
just
time.
Give it a couple of laps.
It's all going to be about...
all it needs is one person to drop it. One person drops it, causes a safety car. They are sitting pretty.
So Max Verstappen's pitting. So Verstappen is in the pits. There is some debris. That's a bit of Ferrari. It's well off the circuit. So I don't think that'll be too much of a concern there. Verstappen pits. The intermediates going on, Jonty. Verstappen, who loves the wet weather, is now on the Inters. So now We're watching those further down the grid for their lap times. The lap times are improving from them, but they're still well off the pace of the front guys, obviously. But now we need to watch Verstappen. This could force a few to make a decision.
Yeah. It's all about how much more water comes, and we've still got 20 laps to go yet.
Well, the intermediates are considerably slower, obviously, on the dry bits of the track, and that's such an obvious statement, but they're not that much quicker through that wet sector a little bit, but not hugely. So it might have been a little bit early, but like you say, and as I was saying as well, down towards the back end of the grid, you might as well take that gamble because you've got nothing to lose. So, I mean, that's probably what Gasly's thinking. If we get a big shower, he might pull a Winkelhock, which sounds very painful.
Yeah.
It's a big ask. Let's try to look at who's on what tyres. You got Verstappen on the Inters. Is that... Oh, the bit of front wing has come off Vettel's car. Riding the curbs a bit too heavily there. Interesting. That could be costly if we get a good downpour.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the ground around turn 6 now. It's not just a light shower. It's getting wet.
It's chucking it down, isn't it? But having said that, we've just had 2 guys on dry tyres throw it comfortably at the inside of Gasly, so... But then he's on the... I think the full wets was maybe a little bit ambitious there, to be honest, John. So I think Inters was the right way to go if you're going to take that gamble.
Oh, absolutely.
We've still got all the leaders except for Max Verstappen on dry tyres. Vettel's been told the rain is decreasing. That is not what we want to hear, and that is going to cost... And indeed, Sauber are coming in, and they are pitting Leclerc and putting him on the ultra-soft tyres. That has not worked. We have yellow flags in Sector 3, but I suspect that is for that little bit of front wing that's just off the racetrack from Sebastian Vettel's car. In fact, it's green now, so nothing to worry about there. But Leclerc already giving up on that, John T.
Well, it might not be done yet. I've got a feeling this race has got a sting in the tail.
I can't wait for you to get to Marty Brundle's commentary there when he spotted that Gasly was on the full wets, mate, because that was absolutely golden. Brilliant. So I was really tickled with that. And then obviously Gasly comes in now to put the ultras on. That was too much of a gamble. I think anybody in chat, I think we're disappointed. We want more rain. I mean, there's still plenty of time yet to go. 19 laps. So there's still time for this to swing the other way. A few people really surprised by Gasly going for the full wets there. He was off track. It's still raining though at turn 6, but Vettel told it's decreasing. So again, they've got a lot more smarter people on the pit wall than we have, and Verstappen pits, and that is his shot of a podium gone, I think, for the ultras. That's a shame.
Yeah, well, I can't see everyone getting around that turn 6 on slicks for the rest of the race without someone getting it really wrong.
Yeah. I can't get over the full wets for Gasly. Unless they've got data on the pit wall that'll tell them that a heavy shower's coming or whatever, then maybe that's why. But the rain is still falling. The rain is still falling. So, but as I've said in commentary a couple of times, the track is 80% dry. So you're losing more time, aren't you? But
yeah, I mean that radar looked like it was a fairly large amount coming in.
It is raining down the pit straight as well. Oh, and Leclerc in a big spin coming out of turn 1, but he well caught in the end. Just the one spin. That time it's absolutely chucking it down in turn 1. Leclerc caught out there, but well recovered. Really good hold. Just the 1 360 there, and managed to keep it going. So that's brilliant. But it's still raining. So we're kind of in that no man's land that we've seen before, John T, where we've got a little bit of rain here, a little bit of rain there. It eases off, then comes down heavily, then eases off. So people are kind of don't know where to go, do they, with this one?
Yeah, nice catch, Charles.
Good one, wasn't it? So Hamilton's been told the rain will last for 3 minutes and no more. It's a little bit disappointing, but it looks as though the rain that was at 6 has moved its way over, so Maybe that is it for the rain, which would be a shame, but at least we've got a little bit to talk about because it was getting a little bit stagnant, if you like, in the midfield. By the way, everybody back to Kevin Magnussen is now lapped. Hulkenberg won't be long before he's a lap down, and I would imagine, well, Verstappen should be quick enough to avoid it, but he is 1 minute and 4 off the lead. So, and we've got, is that Leclerc or Ericsson? That's a Sauber. It's Leclerc, well off track. It is chucking it down out there. That's a British term, a northern British term, isn't it? Chucking it down. But it is, proper raining out there through that first sector. So car's really tiptoeing. Leclerc off track. Bottas all over the back of Kimi Raikkonen and having a look up the inside, and Raikkonen just closes that door. But the traffic is costing Raikkonen so much time here.
Yeah, it's bucketing down, my lad.
There's an accent, I know. But yeah, Raikkonen struggling. Raikkonen off track. Let's go allow Bottas through. We've got a Force India in a spin as well. I think that is Checo. It is Checo in a spin, kicking up a load of dust. Raikkonen's been passed by Bottas. It's chaos out there. Absolute chaos. Raikkonen cannot keep it on track. He's all over the road. Bottas up into a net. Well, he is P2 now. Hamilton looks incredibly quick as well. Verstappen will be quick in these conditions. Those on Inters, there's nobody on Inters now. They're all on the dry tyres. But just look at this. Perez he just lights up the rears. Loses the back of it. Raikkonen off track in the background. And that is, what happened to Raikkonen? He's trying to go past the Haas. Trying to lap the Haas, who gives him very little space. And Raikkonen hits the white line. And that's the end of that for him. I won't repeat what I just said on team radio. It requires censoring. That's all I'm going to say. So he is not happy at all. But chaos out there. This rain is coming down probably a little bit harder than maybe the Bottas twitchy all over the place. Raikkonen as well. Hamilton struggling in the background. It is too wet in that first sector, Jonty. And probably the second sector for the dry tyres.
So is someone going to go to Inters again?
So somebody may as well. Sainz is in the pits. Sainz has pitted, so I wonder if he's going to make that switch. He has indeed. He is going to. We've got yellow flags as well out there, so that's somebody off track. But they're really tiptoeing out there. This is brilliant to watch. This is where these guys earn their money. Cliche line, I know, but I'm allowed to say it because I'm commentating on it today. So, but this is where these guys earn their money, Jonty. It's brilliant to see Bottas. Big twitch. Raikkonen right on the back of him now. It looked like he was going to go off there, but well held. Hamilton twitching behind him as well. Oh, this is what we want to see. Bit of drama. Just trying to watch, just really struggling out there. But then it seems to be... Oh, and that's Vettel in the wall. Sebastian Vettel, sorry, Jonty, spoiler alert, is out of the German Grand Prix.
See, this is great because I'm hearing you say things before we see it. And I'm just turning to the missus and smiling.
It is a safety car as well, but Sebastian Vettel punching his steering wheel in frustration is out. Game over. Oh my God. The one man who could afford to take it easy has been caught out by the rain. Safety car is out. Everybody's going to come in now, surely, for intermediates. Vettel so frustrated. Are they going to put... They've not got Bottas's tyres ready. They've not got Bottas's tyres ready. Raikkonen takes the lead.
This is crazy.
We've only got 14 laps left as well. So Bottas, super long stop. That's dropped him behind Raikkonen and Hamilton, who under the safety car should be all right with this weather if they can control it. But Sebastian Vettel absolutely devastated. You said this race had a sting in its tail, Jonty, and that there is exactly that. So Hamilton up to second, Bottas third. He's kicking the gravel, Vettel, totally understandably. Verstappen will be up to fourth. Let's have a look. He's coming into the hairpin in the stadium section. Let's have a look, and he's just lost. There's nothing there. Oh, that is... Oh, dear. He's just lost it in the wet. He's just lost the back of that car. No grip to turn into that corner. Little twitch there. Straight on. No, yeah. Just driven straight into the wall. All because of the wet. And the Ferrari fans gutted. But the Red Bull fans pretty happy there. Jonty, if we're being honest. I'm a little bit disappointed for Vettel, actually, there. Hamilton... Oh.
What?
Well, Hamilton's just... I'm intrigued by it. Again, I'm not up on the rules with that sort of thing, but Hamilton came into the pits, was obviously told last minute he'd already passed the bollard, and he cut back across the grass to move back onto track. I didn't think that was allowed.
No, it's not. You can't pass the track past that bollard. You can't cut the line past that bollard.
Unless the only thing I could say is hopefully there'll be a replay again in a minute, but maybe, just playing devil's advocate, maybe the wet weather and he's lost it, but first glimpse, that looked like he turned out of that, so they might be investigating that with the stewards.
He did. Yeah, I've just seen the replay. He turned out after the bollard. That bollard's there certainly for coming in. You can't come in after it. You have to assume the rule goes both ways.
They're pitting Raikkonen. So Hamilton takes the lead. Could face a penalty. You never know. Hamilton takes the lead. But big shout out, by the way, Nico Hülkenberg, P5, and Sergio Perez, P6. A bit more chaos. He's only a couple of places off a podium there, is our Nico. So will be pretty good. But Vettel, looks understandably devastated. Home Grand Prix, race pretty much in the bag. Chaos, Jonty, but brilliant. But at the moment, somehow, amongst all of that, we have a Mercedes 1-2. Hamilton leads Bottas.
This is... When I said it was going to have a sting in the tail, I wasn't expecting it to cause so much chaos.
Oh, and that's Sorokin. That looks like a mechanical failure. He was on the Inters. He is out of the race. By the way, those on the intermediates, Hülkenberg in 5th. Sainz is, Magnussen as well. I might be wrong on that, actually. Is it Magnussen? Yeah, Magnussen on Inters. Vettel was on Inters, was he? I don't think he was. I think that's a mistake. And Sorokin also out of the race. He was on Inters as well. So the longer this safety car stays out, Jonty, the more this plays into Mercedes' hands, of course, because the rain leaves off and whatnot. So I think, unless Raikkonen can do something very special from 3rd and get past these Mercs, Mercedes are sitting very, very pretty here.
Yeah, this is exactly what they couldn't have dreamed it would go this well.
Some in chat having their opinion on the Hamilton incident. That's not a penalty. It depends on how the stewards see it. They might say that they'll let him off with that one, but the kind of the rules do state that once you've passed that bollard, you can't. But I think it might depend on the racetrack as well, as stupid as that sounds, because places like Austria, you definitely can't. But maybe places like here where the pit entry is a little bit better, they might let it go. So I won't repeat that team ready from Vettel. I kind of feel for it. I really feel for him there, because he's never won at Hockenheim, has he? And that would have been a big moment. And it looked... We were talking yesterday after Hamilton's issue in qualifying about championship-defining moments, and we've come to the race, Jonty, and it's flipped the other way. That just sums up 2018 perfectly at the moment. Yeah,
I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping things would go Lewis's way this weekend, just to keep the title fight there. It's his turn to get the lead, but I didn't think it would be this severe.
Well, this could be huge. Big lead heading into the summer break, potentially. So, and psychologically, we saw yesterday Lewis breaking down by the side of his car. We've just seen Sebastian Vettel doing that. That also goes to show the pressure these guys are under, not just from their teams, from the fans, from the sport as a whole, but the pressure they put on themselves. Oh. Lapped cars may now overtake. Way. It's your exciting race control news, people, for today. We are under the safety car still, so lap cars can now overtake usually means another lap, depending on how long it takes them to get through with the safety car before we get going. And it looks as though the track is starting to dry a little bit. And I haven't really seen an awful lot of rain compared to what we have. So,
has anyone stayed out on slicks?
Both Mercedes, Kimi Raikkonen, Max Verstappen, Perez and Ocon. Ericsson, Van Dorn, Stroll, Ericsson P8. I can hear Discord cheering now.
Discord squad.
Oh, we're not resorting to that one, are we? Getting a few messages on Discord now, people that were disappointed to see Vettel leaving. Let's have a look at some of your comments while we're under safety car. Keep an eye out for any news on whether Hamilton might get investigated. I don't think he will. I think they'd have said by now if there's going to be an investigation. So, let's have a look. Violated pit entry boundaries to return to the track. Come on, Kimi, says Roger. Time for a Hulk podium. It's P5, but he's on the Inter, so he needs it to keep raining if he wants to be. But I tell you what, Jonty, actually, good point. If it chucks it down now, we're under safety car, and then 4 have got a pit. Hülkenberg is net lead of this race. That's if it rains.
If it chucks it down again, then we're on for a Renault 1-2.
Hang on.
Perez, Ocon, Ericsson, 6th, 7th, and 8th are also on slicks.
Right, I've just saw Hamilton's team radio there. Bit of confusion with his engineer, and then a panic when Hamilton said he was staying out and his engineer was shouting in. So, looking at that replay, it looks like that might be something the stewards look at, but rules are rules, but under those conditions, it might be harsh. You could say that, but I don't know. I haven't got the rules in front of me to really commit to anything on that one, but the first we'll know is if race control decide to look at that. I mean, if it downpours now, Renault 1-2, because the Force Indies have got to pit, that would be brilliant, Jonty. I would love that, as so many would. And actually, who was it in chat earlier that said they'd love a midfielder to win? If you're still here, let me know, because you could deserve a shout-out for that at the end of this stream. It's a long way to go yet still, really, in these conditions, but it's all going to come down to what the weather can do. Catch the
I
Coyote
just heard
says,
that radio. What the hell is going on in Mercedes with the strategy department and the race engineers?
they're all over the place. I've got to read this comment from Catch the Coyote. I'm sorry. He says, "Hi Lewis, it's James again. I'm an amateur." It's harsh, but that is exactly what that team radio sounded like then, didn't it? It did sound a bit amateurish. And in come the Haas boys. They are getting rid of those intermediates for ultra. Well, Haas 11th and 12th somehow in all of this, Jonty, despite sitting pretty. Grosjean ahead of Magnussen. They've now gone to the ultra soft tyres, so the rain clearly is stopping. So at the moment, I would say with those probably going to have to pit. Hulkenberg's on the ultra, sorry. The timing screens have just updated. He was not on the inter. So your top five is Hamilton, Bottas, Raikkonen, Verstappen and Hulkenberg. Perez and Ocon 6th and 7th. They are where they should be. Sainz on the inters, so he's going to lose that. Ericsson is possibly a net P8 here, with Brendan Hartley 9th and Grosjean 10th.
Yeah. This is really just taking the form book for the midfield and just throwing it out the window.
What we want, a little bit of drama now. So I'm just looking for a forecast, but I don't know if you can find one, Jonty, that maybe gives us an update, but we've only got 10 laps or so to go. So it's a little bit of an ask for any more rain now. But then we saw there a couple of laps of heavy rain and it kind of throws it all, doesn't it? So,
yeah, well, why is the safety car still out?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. The lap cars, unless they need the lap cars, I hate this rule. I am with Martin Brundle on this. If you are lapped, you are lapped. That's it at the end of the day. I know it's to get them out of the way of the leaders so they're not compromised at the restart, and it gives us Hamilton pulling alongside the safety car again. But it's to allow the leaders to obviously not be impeded by those. A lap down, race control, safety car in this lap, that shuts me up. But why do we need to let the lap cars? Surely lap cars drop to the back of the pack would make more sense. They're only going to get lapped again.
Yeah. But on the restart, all on cold, very, very cold tyres.
Just watching, I'll tell you who I'm going to watch on this restart very, very closely. I'm about to go full cheesy crofty in a moment, but just keep an eye on Hulkenberg, keep an eye on Perez, usually pretty good on the restart from what I remember anyway, Sergio Perez, but just watch Verstappen. He's right on the back of Raikkonen. I just fancy this, but Hamilton now on the he's on ultra soft tyres. I'm not sure. They're not newer tyres, are they? So Bottas might be on for the win here, but they have dropped it. Hamilton is away. We are restarting in Germany from Bottas already closing on Hamilton. He's not quite got it right. Cold tyres for Hamilton and for the whole field, of course. Verstappen right on the back of Raikkonen, but the top four have basically gone. The top four of this pin, Hulkenberg trying to keep in touch. It is Perez and Ocon. Why is that Sauber there? That's confusing me. Sorry, there's a Sauber in between. I think the timing screens may well be wrong here, but I'm not sure. Maybe he's still a lap down, Leclerc, but nothing changing at the top there. Bottas looks a little bit racier than Hamilton in his early stages on the restart. On lap 58 of 67. Verstappen right on the back of Raikkonen. Of course, no DRS at the minute, so we're not going to see it. And Bottas is going for it on Lewis Hamilton. They're going side by side into the hairpin. Bottas on the outside. Oh, Hamilton on the inside. He's going to try the switch back. He seems to have more grip and a bit racier, and Bottas has gone for it. They're side by side again on the run down to turn 7. He's going to have to back out of that. Is it? They're still side by side through that super quick. Oh, Bottas is not letting this go. Hamilton, can he keep it? He's going to go in tight and defensive, but just keeps the lead from Bottas. But Valtteri Bottas, super racy. Oh, that's good to see some proper inter-team racing there. Raikkonen now pulling away from Max Verstappen. Of course, Bottas has got the newer tyres as well, so maybe that could come into play here because Mercedes will be thinking about the win. Vettel out of the race second isn't going to hurt Lewis Hamilton all that much. Verstappen is falling away. Hulkenberg 1.6 off Verstappen, and that's kind of all falling away. Ericsson is P8, so I think Carlos Sainz has pitted to get rid of those Inters. Was Sainz on the Inters? I seem to think he was. I think he's pitted to get rid of those, but we have lost Stroll as well somewhere in all of this. He looks like he's out of the race as well. The Bottas getting racy, but all of a sudden, fastest lap from Lewis Hamilton, a 1:16.5. Bottas falling away from Hamilton, and Raikkonen on the back of Bottas. Quite a moment. I thought Bottas had him there on the exit of turn 6. I thought he got him. Seemed to have the run down to 7. Under investigation for overtaking while the safety car was deployed is Carlos Sainz. So that's a slam dunk, isn't it, John T? They've usually got the data to prove that.
Yeah, well, I said he was one to watch. I never said why.
Yeah, he's one to watch because he might get a penalty for overtaking under the safety car. I like that. We can really hedge our bets with that from now on. That covers us quite nicely there. But it's all going to go a little bit quiet now. Hamilton pulling away 1.7 clear of Valtteri Bottas on the older tyres, of course. Raikkonen 9/10, 14th to first for Hamilton potentially here. John T. Just having a look here. DRS is enabled. I keep seeing the race control stuff popping up, and it is, of course, DRS enabled and things like that. But possibly 14th to first here. He has got a lot of help from the safety car, of course, and the weather's helped him out with Vettel's retirement. But he'd have taken that this morning, wouldn't he, John T? Understatement of the year.
Yeah, he's got to be delighted with this.
Fastest lap again, 15.7 from Lewis Hamilton. Absolutely flying out front. He needs that gap because, of course, Raikkonen on the fresher rubber. But Bottas doing a good job here at keeping a fry behind him. But I think Raikkonen looks pretty racy. And don't rule out Verstappen. 1.4 behind Raikkonen. Still seems to be a few spots on camera lenses. So I don't know if we've got any more rain coming in. Be nice to see some to spice us up for the last few laps. But yeah, looking through the field for some surprise. Obviously, Ericsson P8, Hartley P9 and Grosjean P10. Two drivers there who needed a good weekend and look like they might be on for it here. Hartley and Grosjean, big points. Gasly is teammate for Hartley down in 15th. Leclerc is plumb last in 16th. That's a surprise. But that was us. But I made the gamble, didn't he, on the intermediates early on, so that's probably why that is the way it is. A little bit disappointing. Fernando Alonso 14th, Van Dorn 13th. Another bad day for McLaren by the look of it. Still a few laps to go yet, so anything can happen if we do get any kind of downpour or slippery conditions anywhere. You just never know. And the way things have gone reliability-wise for Mercedes at the minute, John T, they've been in traffic today. There's no guarantee they're going to make it to the end.
Yeah, sorry, I was just having to respond to a message from our guest for the post-race.
Oh, okay, our guest for the post-race. I will reveal who that is. Revealing him like he's one massive celebrity or something, but I'm quite excited about it. I'll reveal that one after the stream so that you're ready for the race debrief. But Lewis Hamilton comfortable up top now. Purple in the first sector once again. Bottas, yeah, and Raikkonen still a second between them or so. So looks like it might have settled down a little bit here. No word, of course, either on Lewis Hamilton, whether he might get investigated for that. So it looks like that is not the case. So I'm going to have a read of my rules after this one because I'm not 100% science. The science has said it's starting to rain again, John T. 6 laps to go.
Yeah, come on, let's have one more colossal downpour right at the end.
I have no particular favourite on the grid. I have no issue with any of the top four. Bit of rain for Hulkenberg to win. If you're going to get your first podium, do it with a win on home soil.
Oh, it would be incredible.
It really would. It'd be absolutely brilliant. I'd love that. I'd forgive him then for the hat thing. Maybe. Yes, some spots on the camera lens there on Nico Hulkenberg. So it's starting to rain in that final sector. So clouds in the sky, dark clouds in the sky. So we might be on for quite a big downpour. Or F1 will do what F1 loves to do and tease us with the possibility of more rain as the pit crews start to get ready again. And actually, it doesn't do anything in the end. And we end up with a big downpour after the podium. Bottas.
I wouldn't be great. Just one more downpour. 2 laps to go.
Bottas told by James Allison to hold position. Team orders at Mercedes. That's a surprise. That's genuinely a surprise. With Vettel out of this race, I'm genuinely a little bit surprised by that one. I honestly thought they might let him race for that one, but no, they've been told to hold position. Tinfoil hat on, Jonty. Contract signed this week. I'm joking. It's just, I love a bit of a conspiracy there, but yeah. Team orders at Mercedes. So it is 1-2 for Mercedes. Hamilton from Bottas, unless the rain comes to spoil their party.
You have to say fair play to him for abiding by the rule, but he certainly didn't sound happy about it, did he?
No. Looking at
Comfortably
Ericsson
got the pace.
and Ocon. So Ericsson passing Ocon. Does that put Ericsson? No, Ocon came back at him. Now, I was going to say Ericsson on the move there, Jonty. Bit of a surprise, but Ocon did get the position back in the end. Force India 6th and 7th. Great drive as well for Esteban Ocon, and a 10-second time penalty for Carlos Sainz for overtaking under the safety car. There you go. Disappointing for him. So there you go. You're one to watch, Jonty. Went as well as mine.
Yeah, mine's still in it. That counts as a point.
Well, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. Wasn't the rule that if our one to watch got driver of the day, you got a point? I'll go tweaking the rules to try and get your wins now, Jonty. I'm not having that. We've already had this. Nico Hulkenberg, nope, not going to play it. Fair enough. Marcus Ericsson all over Esteban Ocon here. This is great to see. Some proper racing. I was going to say midfield, but who was it? Somebody said something. It might have been one of the Haas boys. It might have been a Renault boy saying that there isn't a midfield anymore. It is the front three and then everybody else. And that is what we're seeing again today.
Loving very much so. Williams aside, but even they were trying to scrap a little bit towards the back. You know, they were closer. So that can only mean good things to watch.
Anybody in chat know why Stroll retired? We saw Ricciardo, Sirotkin and Vettel. Hamilton told threat of rain to the north. So and there are more spots on the camera, but I didn't see why Stroll retired. Have a look at chats. Engine problems, apparently. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I didn't see him retire, that's all. Was just a little bit surprised to see him out of the race. Once again, massive thank you, by the way, to Planet F1 for providing the live time. Marcus Ericsson and Romain Grosjean. Ericsson looking racy, but Grosjean gets past the Sauber. Will Ericsson come back at him? No, he will not. But yeah, massive thank you to Planet F1 again for providing the time today. All working brilliantly. Really enjoying this. And I'm already looking forward to Hungary next weekend. So Bottas a little bit wide on the exit of that corner there. Obviously a little bit slippery out there. Bit of rain starting to fall. I don't think, though, Jonty, unless we get a massive downpour, I don't expect a change of... And this is why Sainz got the penalty.
It would need to be a full-on cloud burst now to make any difference.
Just showing a replay of Sainz getting his penalty. Absolutely, yeah, slam dunk. Quite clearly overtook the Sauber there under safety car. So it was a very slow Sauber, though, to be fair. So, but that's ruined Sainz's race. Sainz is P10 at the minute. That'll promote Hartley to 10th. Unless he can pull out 10 seconds in 4 laps. Be surprised, but Hartley up to 10th. That's a big point for Hartley. Big race for Grosjean as well, by the look of it. I was moaning about him earlier and not really been on the pace. P8 at the moment. 3.6, though, at the top between Hamilton and Bottas. That's now 3.8. Vettel there, a hug from Arriva Bene. He looks devastated, and you can understand why. Such a shame. Such a shame. But like you said, Jonty, it does give us another change in leading the World Championship and yet more drama in what is... It's probably not going to be the best championship fight we've ever seen, but in terms of the toing and froing between the two of them, it's one of the best we've seen in years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite the 2016 rivalry between Lewis and Nico, but it's certainly a rivalry, and it's heating up. By the way, there has been another incident off track this weekend regarding rivalries that we haven't talked about, and I wasn't sure whether to or not, and that regards the driver interviews on the podium.
Okay. Oh, yes. I'll tell you what, we can probably discuss that in the race debrief, actually, or in maybe a midweek stream at some point. It's an interesting one. It's definitely an interesting one, but Bottas has just been told the rain will be heavy between turns 2 and turn 6, I believe it was. And so, you know, nobody's going to pit. This is a penultimate lap. Nobody's going to pit for Inters now. There's no point, but catch a bit of rain, lock up, slide, spin.
So
last lap.
Heavy rain will be heavy along the fastest DRS section of the whole track.
Yes, and it will fall on the last lap, apparently, and they are coming through the the stadium section for the penultimate time. So if it's going to rain, it kind of needs to do it now if we're going to get a bit of drama. But last lap will do, because we might get some chaos. I would imagine Hamilton will just take it easy. He's 4 seconds up the road from Bottas. Bottas has got Raikkonen in his pocket. I still have no idea. Obviously, I've seen what's happened, but I still have no idea how we have a Mercedes 1-2. It's all come down to rain and mistakes, hasn't it, from the Ferraris, really? But the rain is starting to fall. And are we going to get an accurate weather forecast? Because weather forecast. Lewis Hamilton comes through to start his final lap. And if you didn't know it was a final lap, luckily now FOM put a big red thing on the screen that says final lap, just in case you can't count, because we're all just that stupid, apparently. That's a rant for another day. You're not getting a rant on that one, because it's not a fan of all this from FOM at the moment with some of their graphics. We miss vital information and get information we don't need quite a lot, and it's a little bit frustrating. But Hamilton, down that run to turn 6, it doesn't look like there's too much rain there, John T. To be perfectly honest, I know you're a little bit behind, but doesn't look like we're getting that rain. Perez P6. There is a little bit starting to fall, but I think this is going to affect the midfield rather than the leaders. Hamilton could just take it easy now. 3.9 at the road from Bottas. Raikkonen falling away. Ferrari are going to be very frustrated with the turnout from this Grand Prix. Verstappen only 1.1 behind Raikkonen and closing. So this could get even worse yet. Roman Grosjean passed Perez for 6th. Grosjean's on it out there. Whether the Force Indies have got some tyre issues, I don't know. But Lewis Hamilton coming through the stadium section now. He's taken full advantage of everything that's fallen his way today. Vettel retiring. He drove well through the field. From 14th on the grid, it is Lewis Hamilton who wins the 2018 German Grand Prix. Obviously weaving all over the track in celebration. Bottas will take 2nd place, probably frustrated with that given the team orders. Raikkonen 3rd for Ferrari, just ahead of Max Verstappen, and I mean just ahead of Max Verstappen. A big shock there, I think, in terms of win. And that top 2, I still can't quite believe that has happened. A little bit baffling. We're going to definitely have to go over this in the race debrief and the race review tomorrow, get all the reaction, but there could be yet more talk. I don't see there being any issue with Lewis Hamilton as a penalty, but be interesting to see what Sebastian Vettel has to say after this. It is Nico Hülkenberg who will come home in 5th place, despite that safety car, John T. 18.9 seconds off 4th.
Yeah, that's still a big gap. Grosjean stole 6th from Perez right on the last lap as well.
Great comeback drive there from Grosjean late on. He was at 3 laps ago, he was 8th, 9th. Perez 7th, Ocon in 8th. Great drive. He's going to fall under the radar, so maybe a hint there on who my driver of the day might be tomorrow, or one possibility at least, or a couple in that top 10 that deserve it. But great comeback from Esteban Ocon. Marcus Ericsson, there you go. Big up the Discord posse. He's come home. Can't believe I said that at 32 years old. But Marcus Ericsson has come home in 9th place for Sauber. And Brendan Hartley. I don't think I've ever been this happy for someone to grab a point. Brendan Hartley, 10th place for Toro Rosso. Magnussen, after all that promise early on, is P11. Carlos Sainz P12, but he will get a penalty. I don't know if that includes a penalty, which would promote Van Dorn, Gasly and Leclerc. Make up the rest of the field. Alonso stopped late on, so whether they decided just obviously no points, get in and get a free gearbox change, perhaps that's why. But Stroll, Vettel, Sirotkin, and early on, what seems like an eternity ago, Daniel Ricciardo retired. John T, your thoughts, mate? I need a drink.
Yeah, I am dying for a cup of tea right now. I'm started to settle down in the middle, but that really picked up. Thank you, rain. That's just what we all wanted.
It just did enough, didn't it? I mean, I am, I'm not going to lie, I'm gutted for Sebastian Vettel. I really am. And that's not, call me a fanboy. I don't care. It's not a fanboy thing. I'm very gutted for him because it's home Grand Prix. In the same way I was gutted for Hamilton at Silverstone, because I love drivers winning at home, because you get that incredible reaction from the crowd and they're always just that little bit happier. But it's huge for the World Championship, that one. That's 25 points for Hamilton. So that's a quick maths, 13-point lead. 8 points was the gap. Is that terrible maths from me?
So, no, that's a 17-point lead.
It was terrible maths from me. So a 17-point lead going to Hungary. But as I think we've seen leads bigger than that this season, haven't we? So
yeah, we have. So it's not over yet, but it could be very important. Everything we said yesterday about Lewis's issues, with him crouched down by the side of the car, saying that could be the shot we all talk about that decided the title. Apparently not.
Yeah, apparently 2018 is determined not to decide any title particularly early, but I think that's... It's big for Mercedes, obviously home ground, 1-2, massive for them. Big for the constructors to swing it another way. Ferrari, for me, through mistakes with drivers threw it away. But remember, not long ago, John, or earlier in the race, we were talking about how Mercedes had thrown this away by not reacting. And like you say, the rain spiced it up absolutely beautifully. But it says there on the time in Lewis Hamilton up 13 places. That does not tell the full story. I mean, he's got a Mercedes. He's coming through the field through much slower cars. It's no great surprise to see that, but to take the win, even with everything that fell his way, he still deserves, won't get, but still deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one hell of a drive. That's 2 race weekends in a row where he's had to pull out superb drives that contend for best drives of his career in order to salvage something at the weekend.
It's drives like that win championships as well, isn't it? A lot of people will quite, when you look back through history, it's big moments like that can turn championships. But this isn't over. 17 points is nothing this season. It really isn't. That could just still be level on points. It would make no difference whatsoever. This is going down to the wire in Abu Dhabi unless we get some big drama like we got towards the back end of last season. This is going right down to the wire, and I don't know which way to predict it. I said Vettel at the start of the season. I'd probably still be inclined with the Ferrari's advantage to give him the edge again, but it just feels way too early to be talking about that because I genuinely think we still won't know when we get to Abu Dhabi.
No, we've got no idea now. It's just so up and down. I'm so looking forward to some of the tighter tracks where no one's got any one clear advantage. Places like Singapore, Red Bull have the advantage, but Ferrari and Mercedes, they'll be very close. Suzuka, they're going to be good.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're going to leave the stream there because we're going to be live again in an hour and 10 minutes, Jonty. Whose idea was this? Don't shout at me. Don't tell me off. You can tell me off stream. It's fine. I know you're desperate for a cup of tea. I'm desperate to find something to try and cool off. I'm not going to tell you any more than that. It's not a very nice image. But it is extremely warm in here with everything switched on. So I'm going to switch everything off and give it a chance to cool off. We will be back in an hour and 10 minutes. So make sure I'm going to do it. So make sure you join myself, Jonty, and Chain Bear F1 for the race debrief in an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.